microphone is on. What's up, you heathens and demons? You sinners and saints, you beautiful, blasphemous bastards. Welcome back to the Raging Atheist. It's a celebration tonight. We are finally reached the 3,000 mark. It took a long time. And I'm going to have a special guest to start with. Now, I totally took a nap and did not get to sorting out and making a real, true open room screen. So it's kind of like it was this morning. It's going to be just one block screen. Yeah, because I took a nap, and I took actually a longer nap than I thought I would. But yeah, what's up? This is going to be fun. Anybody that wants to come in can come in. Jay said he's going to come in and start talking about pedophiles and ass kickings in prison. So I deserve that. I might have done that on his stream at 3 a.m. But yeah, I'm going to start with a special guest. So who is the special guest?
What's up, bitches?
John is here. What's up, John?
Yeah, Jay comes in and talks about ass kickings in prison. Hopefully he won't talk about the other stuff that goes on with asses in prison.
Well, I mean, that can be fun too.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to help a brother out, you know.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I can actually keep my live screen over here today. Yeah, so that it'll make it easier for me to see the chat. Yeah, hopefully more people will join us. I know your favorite person might join us, John. Danny, he was on the thing earlier, so he was pretty quiet earlier. I'm not sure if he'll actually join tonight or not.
Who?
Danny.
Who?
Oh,
Danny.
Yeah. Danny who?
Danny. I seem to, I kind of like a little bit that rings a bell in my head, Danny, but I don't know who, I can't really remember who it is. You know, it's because I'm all out of breath because just before we went live, I took a huge Will Kincaid in my fucking toilet. It was a double flusher, actually. And then I also had to make sure and use this word. I'm a heathen. You're a heathen. Everybody's a heathen too. I heard some stuff, and I just, I like that word heathen. I want to use that as much as I can, because heathen does mean atheist, in addition to other things. I mean, it's got other meanings too.
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning, and yeah, Christians label us that. Whether blame the Christians, don't blame us. We just embrace it. We embrace the negativity.
Well, I mean, one thing I can say about the Christians though is at least they can, pick a God and stick to one God. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they at least they shit or got off the pot.
Yeah, John coming back with some fire. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I did put the link in the side chat, so feel free to come in. Yeah, Jay would love to have you come on and talk about pedophiles and ass kicking, but yeah, we did kind of say we were going to start talking about this because it kind of got brought up on the show this morning. I have since checked it out. Some of the things that's been being said, and like I agree with Skylar, and me and John was talking about this. I do find belief in any God to be silly, and I'm going to call out I call out Christians mainly because I'm surrounded by Christians, but that doesn't mean I don't find the rest of your gods silly, and it doesn't mean that I find you silly for worshiping them, but I do find the belief silly, and it's just that I'm an atheist. It's kind of like duh.
Yeah. I mean, if you believe in a God, then like he said, I'm not gonna dislike you as a person or think you're an idiot as a person, but I just agree with that belief that you have and think it's kind of silly to, have an imaginary friend when you're a grown ass adult. But, I kind of just think it's even, more of a stretch when, you believe in Marvel characters.
Oh, John is coming with the shots, man. And I told him, take your gloves off. I don't care. I mean, I love everybody and everybody's possible they can be a good person or a bad person. It doesn't matter if you're a theist, an atheist, an agnostic, whatever the fuck you believe. You can be a good person and a bad person. You can be a good person and do bad shit, and you can be a bad person that does good shit. It's just, it's just the way it is. And I think that, as an atheist, I think God belief is silly. And part of me accepting that you are a God believer and that you do have these beliefs, and I'm going to try to be respectful of them if I respect you. But part of that is reciprocating that and respecting me and just understanding I don't believe in the shit that you believe in. And I do think that it's fucking silly. And it, like Skylar's point is, if I say this about Christianity, it's way to go, Skylar. But the moment that I say this about something else, it's, oh, you're picking on a minority. No, it's consistency. And I agree with what Skylar's saying, I think.
I mean, so wait a minute. I didn't even hear that part of it. So polytheists claim that they're a minority?
Well, I mean, they'd be a minority in religious circles, certainly. Yeah.
Well, but see, to me, that's a distinction without a difference. They're claiming a status that they're not due, okay, because they're theists. They believe in God. They just believe in different gods. There's all kinds of religions that believe in different gods. There's all kinds of religions out there that are small groups of people. That have, different beliefs. Yeah, Janus, okay, so to me, it's kind of a stretch to claim minorityhood. I mean, it's absolutely accurate to say, as far as a religion goes, they would be a minority in the whole scope of religion, like you just basically said. But to claim minorityship as if they are a protected group that should be given, a certain deference because they are a small group. No, they're just a different kind of theist. They're just a different kind of person that believes in God. And if you're going to, talk shit about Christians, talk shit about Muslims, and and disagree with their beliefs, then it's fair game to go after polytheists too.
And I think it's one of the things I like best about Marty, and that's why me and Marty have always gotten along so well. Is she understands that? When I first met Marty, we had a one-on-one, and we talked about her religion, and I was able to say, hey, I don't believe in magic, and I do find that I don't believe in any of this stuff, but she's able to understand that about me, and we're still able to like each other as people. Just because I don't think that your religious beliefs are accurate doesn't mean I can't be a friend to you as a person. But part of being an atheist is I don't share your belief in that God, and that is something that you're going to have to accept. With any atheist, I would have to imagine, we shouldn't be the ones giving all the ground. You've got to meet us halfway. And if you can't accept things about us, then why the hell should we accept things about you?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I think I know I've said this before, and I'm pretty sure you've said it before too, is like, okay, we don't believe in God, and we're pretty darn sure that we're right, but we don't know that we're right. I mean, if somebody comes up with some kind of definitive evidence or whatever, well, okay, show me. I mean, or, maybe when I die, I'll be surprised and I'll, go somewhere instead of just die. But yeah, we don't believe in it. We're pretty damn sure that we're correct and that the people that believe in God are wrong. But there's still that kernel of open-mindedness that I believe most of the atheists I know still have. They have this open-mindedness that if they were shown the evidence, if they were, shown that they would, they would grant that there is a God.
Yeah, most of us aren't going to make that positive claim. I mean, some of us do. Some people can really defend that claim. I wouldn't be one of those. So yeah, I kind of stay away from making that positive claim. And so yeah, and please join the talk. We just don't know.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, great. I'm fine, and you?
Oh, pretty good. I'm waking up from a nap, so I'm coming alive.
It's 1 a.m. here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, you're in Britain?
No, Paris.
Yeah, and I appreciate you putting your lightsaber away.
Put in
Yeah,
what?
when you first came on, it sounded like you were wielding a lightsaber wherever you're at. It was like,
Yeah, see, Sidney Winston would be one that could really probably defend that position. We absolutely know that they are wrong. A God is impossible. Yes, I mean, there are atheists that make that claim. Me and John have never just been one of those.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
come
I'm
from
right
a,
there. Oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
come from I just want to, for example, for me, I come from a Muslim background. So, growing up in a Muslim family, I was supposed to be Muslim. And then, after all, today, I think I'm agnostic after all.
Yeah, I'm right on the precipice. Like I'm like, one step away from being able to say, yeah, I know for sure there ain't no God, but I can't. I have to stay just short of stating that because, hey, I could be wrong. I mean, I could be a brain in a jar. Who knows?
Yeah, the thing is, for me, I won't speak for you using your mouth, but for me, I think that we can never be sure because the data we have is so low about the universe. I mean, so the thing is, we just the theistic claims, at least the ones I have encountered, are not enough. They, for me, they are not enough. I couldn't believe in them. Therefore, the natural position to be for any human who doesn't know something is to be an agnostic about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing with what's going on with Skylar. It seems like they're just trying to shut Skylar down instead of explain to Skylar why he should take it seriously. Explain your logic. Defend your faith. Don't just shut him down. Don't just say that oh, you're picking on a minority. You shouldn't be talking like this. No, tell him why he's wrong. And I think that that's kind of probably what he was looking for. I think Skylar looks for that on Twitter a lot. And instead, it was just pretty much let's cancel Skylar fiction.
Yeah, I don't think atheists or agnostics should be should be ashamed about what they believe or not talk about it. Theistic people are trying to convert people. They're talking about it. It's bullshit. They talk about it and they try to gather people around it. So yeah, and we are supposed to be more rational. So yeah, I think we have a more moral duty to challenge them at least.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. And welcome, Michael X. Slade was trying to get in, but he was having issues. So if you can work those issues out, Slade, feel free to come back. And anybody that wants to jump in and join the conversation, I'll keep spamming the link in the side chat. Yeah, please come in and bring your thoughts. And if you disagree, please do, because I used to be on the other side of this. John will tell you, like, I had a lot of polytheists on my Discord server that I considered friends. And, we had our issues that led up to ultimately, just me not really caring about it anymore. But outside of that, one of my things is you've got to meet us halfway. Like, you've got to understand that I'm an atheist and I shouldn't have to really change that. And for me, like, if Skylar Fiction is going to make a statement that I actually agree with, Thor isn't real and it's kind of silly to think that he is, then if you take offense to that, prove him wrong. Show him why he's wrong. I keep hearing that polytheists have all these logical reasons and far superior logical reasons than Christians have for believing in their God, and yet it seems like, hey, it's shut them down instead of go there and show us, your logical reasoning behind it.
Well, I mean, that's why, and the reason that's true is because they made a bunch of superhero movies out of those guys. It's the irony to me is that, talking about back when you and I, more you than me, were in thick with some of the polytheists and were under the impression that we were tight. So they believe in the gods of whatever that pantheon is, that is a lot of the Marvel characters. But then what we found out is a lot of those polytheists actually act more like a villain from the DC universe. And I'm, of course, speaking of Two-Face. But, that's what got me is, and I'm more of a DC person anyway than a Marvel guy.
Just
John
to
is
ask,
coming
guys,
in firing
I
shots.
just came into the stream, so can you tell me back what the topic is? I mean, what kind of polytheist? Paganism?
Oh yeah, right now we're just kind of talking about Skylar Fiction went on Twitter and made a statement, something along the lines, belief in Thor is silly, and yeah, he's been attacked and it's. Some atheists in the community, some large atheists are getting involved, and to me, it's just like Skylar Fiction. Like really, nobody should be surprised that he takes that position.
Sydney fixed the shit. I brought him in.
But we could
just be atheist without giving arguments about it. I mean, if a guy tells me he believes in Superman or in Batman, he has to give arguments without it. Otherwise, it would be just some wishful thinking from his imagination.
Exactly.
And therefore,
we can definitely talk about whatever though. So it's not.
Yeah. It's open room. Hey, Slade. It's still saying device is not connected on our end. So I'm not sure what's going on with your. Maybe try mode.
Slate is all the way across the world, so it could just be internet shifts too. So just keep trying, my dude.
Yeah, the thing I think that we should. The interesting thing about theism is that, at least that's my point of view. I think that theism is a good news. But it's a non-valid good news. It's just wishful thinking. Imagine a religion. It would be so much great and lovely that some religion would have been great, or because we would have answers to the three big questions: from where do we come, why, what are we doing here, and where are we going? And that's why humans try to answer this by creating those religions. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if it's just coming from imagination, then that has nothing to do with human flourishing. So I
agree, and it doesn't mean that you're a silly person. It just means I find that belief silly, and I've always been fascinated by mythology, Greek mythology, Norse mythology. I think it's probably what initially drew me to that new segment when I discovered them. Is I've been fascinated by these stories, and I've always seen them as myth. And here are people that, at first, I just automatically assumed they thought that the stories were real, and you find out the nuances, and they do have sound justifications sometimes. It's just you need to utilize those and stop. Don't shut Skylar down. Utilize your justifications and justify or defend your faith. I mean, that's what I look for when I challenge theists. So it would be the same way with pagans.
No, you're wrong. Cancel motherfucking Skylar, man. He gave an opinion, so that's more than enough reason to cancel somebody in today's
exactly.
world.
And that's just getting out of hand, man.
Hey, and real quick, let me take a minute here and recognize the chat. A lot of people are saying hi to me, and knock. Like new person that we don't know as we've ever noticed before, from religion to agnostic, is in the house. Wally Ignorance here. Of course, Jay Passick's in the house. Get your ass in here, Jay. Ken Hovind, CPA. He says hello from Portland, where weed is legal and Smokey Saint hits up Chuck E. Cheese looking for a date. And Slade, of course, is in the room already right here. Chris Peacock, what up? Lori Hayes, or David, as we really know. How you doing? And what else? So we got Kendra, Tobin Templeman, new one on me.
Yeah, Tobin said he'll come in after he's done eating. Tobin's cool, man. He's been on Andy's after shows a lot, and he's been in the side chat. He's a new reviewer, but a cool dude.
And Tentai says here, he says hello to me and to the Raging Atheist. And that's Sassy Heathen's here. Hey, what's up? She says, John Knock, exclamation point. And that's about it. I'm not seeing anybody else. I think that was everybody.
Yeah, we are starting early, and it is a Saturday night, so we'll be competing with people. Hopefully, more will come in, and I don't have it set up to where I can have my different amounts of people in the room or whatever. So hopefully, people will come in and fill it up because just the way I got it looking on the screen.
I got a question for you, Knock.
Yeah.
You said something which surprised me, and which I don't know if I even should believe. You said that you have an open mind and that you're open to the impossible being real.
Well, yeah, I mean, my position has always been that.
Hold on, let me finish making my point. So you have an open mind and you're open to the impossible, but something that you know that's impossible, you're open to that being proven to be real. The theists claim that they have the open mind because all they believe is the impossible to be real. They don't come up with, I have an open mind, I believe the impossible to be real, but there might be a slight chance that I'm wrong. They never say that.
Well, you know what? It's so funny that
we
you
were
put
just talking about
it
that,
to him like that. We were just talking about that very thing before he went live, about how we can admit that there's still, some small possibility that we could be wrong, but you'll never hear any theist admit that they could be wrong. And
right. So the atheists, which I think you're wrong to even say that you never know, I could be wrong, because you can't. There is no God. It's we know there isn't. It's a agnostic thing. But to say, I could be wrong, is to me sounds like it's just appeasing the enemy.
No, not at all. I mean, and I don't look at all theists as my enemy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, okay, I don't mean enemy. Yeah. I'm going to kill you like Neville Chamberlain. It's like a Neville Chamberlain move.
Well, I actually agree with that a little bit, I think. And I think that that's something that I've been noticing about myself. I'm not sure where this particular thing falls on it because, my position has always been, since I stopped believing in God, is, I wasn't there. So I don't think God has to be like an impossible thing. God can simply be some kind of intelligence that the universe possesses itself to function or whatever. I don't believe in that stupid shit, but it's possible. So I leave myself open to that.
How is it possible?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
but here's Slade. Here's the thing. What methodology? Wait a minute. Slade, hold on. Slade, I was in the middle of asking you something. What methodology? What did I say? Oh, I thought, yeah, all right. I have such a small screen.
Let the horse speak.
No wonder. But what methodology did you use to prove that in all of reality there's no God?
I just use the fact that matter, existence, is eternal. There is infinite. It's an absolute infinite. So there's no pre-existence, and if there's no pre-existence, then there's no point in even talking about whatever was living in pre-existence, like this mind. Like it's so irrational and incoherent that to give it any possibility at all, I find is just wrong. That is why I say there is a 0% chance of any creator, God, deity, whatever. And then to say that you don't believe in him kind of gives him, he might even exist. He does exist. I just don't believe in him. Like leprechauns, they might exist. I just don't believe in them.
And I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you up to the threshold of the doorway. I'm just leaving this infinitesimal.
Okay, why? Why don't you step up to the plate? Why don't you? This is the only way we are going to progress.
I'll tell you exactly why. I'll tell you why. It's because it's an unfalsifiable position. You can't prove there is no God, because to do so, because of the properties that people attribute to God, to do so, you would have to be able to examine the entirety of reality, the entirety of the universe, simultaneously
Exactly.
in all time frames.
Okay. In that case, I'm gonna propose to you, as somebody who only has an infinitesimal belief in God, let's call that you
No,
should.
I don't have a belief in God.
You said you just said there's a possibility that one exists, and if one exists, you're going to have to believe that he exists.
Well, no, I mean, possibility has nothing to do with
granting the premise
doesn't.
Granting a premise doesn't accept.
Either God exists, either God is possible or God is impossible, not possible. Which one? Where do you stand?
No, it doesn't have to be binary option.
I'm asking you a question that's got a yes or a no answer.
No,
if I can just a one or the other answer. You can dictate what questions I can ask, because that's already starting to
well, right. I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so you're asking me, am I saying that there is a possibility a God could exist? Then yes, I'm saying that there is some possible.
Where does that?
There is some possible world where a God could exist.
Well, if I could just
hold on a second. Let me finish talking to John for a second. So there's a possible world where God can exist. Is, to me, that's fantasy right there. So because it's as falsifiable as the actual God that theists believe in, which we know does not exist. We know that 100%. 100%.
Wait a minute, but we can't know that because of what I just told you. It's an unfalsifiable position. To be able to say that you know that no God exists, you would have had to examine the entirety of reality simultaneously and in all time frames because of the properties that God supposedly.
Excuse me, we can look back to pretty soon after the start of this universe and see it in the time frame of 13 and a half odd billion years.
Well, we're only seeing a sliver of the universe when we do that, though. We're not seeing the entirety of it.
Well, I agree with you. There's an observable universe, but we don't know what's beyond the observable universe. But we conjecture that, in a linear sequence, there's much of the same.
See, I just want to take just a quick moment, John, just real quick. I just want to take a quick moment just to appreciate this moment, because I never thought that I'd actually be attacked. I'm not saying you're attacking, but I'm so used to the theist talking about how much of a hardliner atheist I am that this is kind of just, I want to appreciate this moment.
Okay.
Well, and you want to know something? You know what's beyond the observable universe? It's wall-to-wall gods.
Yeah, but that's just because you can't observe it. It doesn't mean to say that there's something there which is metaphysical or at this sort of weirdness, weird dimension that cannot exist. You're giving it a possibility because you can't see that far. All you're doing is saying there's a God until science one day shows me that beyond the observable universe there's more galaxies.
But that's not what I'm saying. You're reformulating.
I'm calling every atheist out who says there's a possibility that a God exists. I'm calling them out to stop that and to take a stand for.
Well, wait a minute. So you're demanding that people who are willing to be intellectually honest that they should change what they believe. Like, I mean, you're telling me to choose what I believe to make you happy.
You shouldn't believe anything.
I would just quote the Albert Einstein, the deist Albert Einstein. You
can't go there because that's so 1925.
No. It does. Age is just a number. Okay. Ideas don't die sometimes. Sometimes we have.
How young do you go?
Wait. Sometimes very old ideas are better than some crap that someone said yesterday. Okay, so sometimes. Anyway, the deist Albert Einstein, when he was asked about his position, he said that he sees that humans we have very low data. We don't know too much. it's like a kid who just entered to the kindergarten during his life.
Nonsense.
Yeah, we're like a bunch of apes, happy that the
just the way you're talking about
went
science
to Mars. Why Mars is the closest
Are you talking
planet.
about science?
We don't.
Science isn't about we don't know. Science is about we want to know.
I'll agree with you, and I do think a part of it is not only just giving a little too much to the theists, but also not playing the same game that they play, because theists come with absolutes. And we don't. And for me, when I say that I grant the possibility of a God, I'm not granting the possibility of any human-made God. If there is a God, if there is some like mind of the universe, then it would be so far beyond our understanding as
but say it's possible
for it to be like you can't even really say it would be like what we would say a God would be. I just grant. I don't know. My position was I wasn't there, and to me, like John was saying, that's the intellectually honest position. But I do think that you are right. I do think that you're right that it is kind of granting a little bit too much ground to the theists, because it is pretty much an impossibility that we're talking about.
Well, here, let me say this. Okay, that's a very good point, and you reminded me. Like when I say God too, I'm not like absolutely there's no Yahweh. Okay, the God of the Bible, there's so many different proofs you can give that is just sheer nonsense. The whole Abrahamic realm of that God. Okay, but that's what I'm saying is that a God could be so many different things that and we don't know the entirety of the universe, so. That's just, to me, it's just being
God
and it's such a small possibility. It's almost not
I thought that God concept.
The God can only be one thing, and that's
being a creator. Like I thought,
creator, exactly.
Yeah,
that's the only thing a God can be.
Is what?
No, see,
a creator.
Well, that's.
Who said that?
We were just talking about pagans, and pagans don't think that their gods are creators.
A creator.
Isn't it
like in there? You just qualified it. That's what a God is. It has to be a creator. That's what a creator God is. Well, you're putting that qualification on.
Okay. Well, what else can a God do? What is a God supposed to do?
Control lightning.
There's many different ways to describe God.
Well,
we're picking on Thor again.
I've given you the only one I know.
But I mean, not all gods are the God of the Bible. I'm totally muted and I'm just rambling. Not all gods are the omni-God of the Bible. So we were just talking about pagans. Pagans don't believe that their gods are creator gods.
No.
They
might. We all know that there was pagan. The sun was a pagan god, and essentially we're all created from the sun. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I mean, they had their sun god. I think most religions did back then, but they also had God.
But but if the sun god gives you life, why drop the sun god?
But
it's so funny. The sun god, and we're all, every one of us is made of stardust.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's why I say it's so impossible for there to be this pre-existential mind, spirit, consciousness. Come on.
I think I agree it's impossible for the reality that human beings experience. I think I agree that, but I'm not sold that this is the only that the human experience is the only experience in the universe. It's the only one that we know.
Well, and the other thing is too is like what I don't think you understand from me is like, okay, you're saying it's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible. Okay, I'm right there with you, short a cunt hair. Okay, that's all my basically my position is. No.
That's not scientific. Cunt hairs matter in science.
Oh, we missed John and his.
I know, it's great. Welcome back, John.
I know it is great to hear you again, John. I am a fan of yours. I dig.
Well, finally, somebody from
the poetry
from my generation.
But well, just so there's no misunderstandings here. This is a one night only concert.
Why?
Yeah, John's not back. He just
What's all that
Yeah.
about?
yeah. He,
I
he was messing
told
up.
myself out. I was trying to turn my camera on, pressed the wrong thing.
Yeah, John's
Yeah, I
definitely
just,
not back. You're,
All right,
you're
well,
still
let's get
dealing
back.
with your
Well, let's
family
get
stuff
back.
and all
Let's
that.
get back to my beef I have with you both.
Well, who'd we lose?
We just don't
Well,
know.
well,
So hopefully,
Well,
they'll come up.
then why do the theists? Then I think the theists are being more honest because they know. They stand behind their knowledge, their Gnosticism.
I don't think that they do
100%,
though. I
not-
think they just pretend.
Listen, they don't think that they think that you believe exactly what they do, but you're hiding it.
Yeah,
Right.
and I
It
think that
doesn't
they
matter.
believe
Well,
like
it doesn't
I
matter
think the same thing about them though. I really do. Like if none of them truly act like they really believe in Yahweh. If they did, then they'd all be in fucking, sheep's clothes. I mean, they wouldn't be wearing the garments that they wear or eating the food that they eat. Or, I mean, they wouldn't. We would be burnt at the stake. I mean, like if they actually believed in this fucking blood god, if they actually believed in it, they would believe in it. But they don't. They
Well, I'll
just
tell you where
they say they do.
I'll tell you where I think that they're full of shit, right? But when you study the Old Testament, when the Jew studies the Old Testament, the Torah, he studies it in the original language, which is Aramaic and Hebrew. They study it, they learn it, they know exactly what every word is, they know how to pronounce it, they know how to read it, they know how to write it. Every Jew does that. Every Jew is brought up religious and counting, and either continues being religious or stops later on in life. But they know how to read the Torah. Now, I'm one of those people who were brought up to be able to read the Torah in its original text. I don't know if you can see that, but this is what I got on my bar mitzvah. So, I know how to read Hebrew. I know, and all the Christians, like Jim Bar, Mr. Batman, people like him, they say you never trust a translation. A translation can be wrong, an interpretation can be wrong. So, when it comes to the Jews, they all discuss the Torah based on the actual language, and then they can have the conversations about it. But the Christians never pick up a New Testament, and study it in the original Greek, because they really have to know the original Greek in order to argue the interpretation fallacy.
Yeah.
Really though, people are on a spectrum.
Yes.
You're saying that all Christians do this, or they do that.
Or they're fakes.
But really,
Yes,
there's
yes.
such a large spectrum that people are doing following different paths.
No, but the New Testament or Paul's writings, they're all in Greek. We all know that. We know that they're in Greek. So the original published publications, the ones that were actually stuck into the canons and whatnot, were Greek. At least the letters were Greek. So when you want to argue Galatians, or you want to argue whatever epistle or letter that Paul wrote, you have to be able to study them in its original form. You have to be able to know Greek and read Greek and write Greek and basically be somewhat fluent in Greek.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
In order,
No, you hold on. I got one little quick thing to say. All you have to have is the spirit of the Holy Spirit upon you. You don't have to.
Okay. So this is where my whole argument just breaks down.
Yeah, because everybody's living in make-believe. They're making it up as they go. Some of them are taking the scripture. Some of them are like, it's on a spectrum. It's crazy.
Well, this is why I say I think it's very important that if we're gonna progress as an atheist, as the atheist umbrella, and basically cover the theists with our aura, we have to take a stand, one side or the other. If you claim to be agnostic, then I have to agree even with Darth Dawkins. It's a stupid position. It doesn't make sense. If you you have to take a one or the other side. And if you're an atheist like we are, you cannot pretend to believe that maybe there's a possibility when you know.
Well, it's so funny though. Wait a minute, just let me stop you real quick. It's so funny how you say if you're atheist like we are, and here we have been for the last 45 minutes debating points that we don't agree on. So, like, what is that atheist like we are?
If you want to wait for theists to come in and so we can have a normal conversation.
Well, no,
this is what we do in the meantime.
This is great. But yeah, I think John's point is, the thing with atheism is for one, I think to come to that point, you're stepping outside of the herd. You're allowing yourself to think differently than the herd does, so you're going to be somewhat of a strong-minded person to begin with, and you're going to have a lot of strong personalities that believe what they believe, think what they think, and you're going to be dealing with that. But we're such a vast, different breed of people. You have very left-wing atheists that's what they care about. It's not so much about atheism, but left-wing politics. You have very right-wing atheists that feel the same way about their politics. It's not about atheism. A lot of atheists out there don't even talk about atheism and don't even really care about it. All they care about is keeping their spot in society. So like I think it is fundamentally the issue with atheism right now is that we're so diversified and they are on a united front.
We are activists. You and me and John, Tobin, I'm sure. We're all activists. We're just not any old atheists sitting out there and minding our own business. Okay? We're leaders.
It all boils down to something that I heard Matt Dillahunty say many, many years ago that I just think is just, a good position to have. I want to believe as many true things as I can and not believe as many false things as I can. And like I said, even despite the argument we've been having, for lack of a better term here, I'm right there with you. It's just that I'm from a pragmatic standpoint, I realize because of the unfalsifiability of saying that there is no God in reality.
Hold on,
let me finish. I would, like I said before, I would have to be able to examine the entirety of your reality simultaneously and in all time frames. And that's not possible.
I think that you're only holding this position to piss off Darth Dawkins because you know how much he hates the agnostic position.
I'm not an agnostic. I am an atheist.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
You just said there's a possibility that God can exist.
That's not the definition of
there's agnostic. A possibility that nothingness can exist, which it can. That's why I say. There's a possibility that you don't even exist. And no, there's no possibility that I don't exist. That's nonsense.
It's nonsense, but it's still possible.
It's how's it possible?
Because I can't.
How can we communicate if I don't exist?
I can't prove it's impossible, and I can't prove that it's impossible that all of this was created.
That's not Thursday. That's not how these debates should be approached.
All right, real quick, I have to assume that I can't even really assume that that's PMARS because PMARS has never actually left a racist tip. I'm gonna actually think that that's J-Dubs, but I don't know who it is, of course.
Well, just don't read it if it's racist.
I'm not. But to the chat, it's not letting me erase it because it's posted by a moderator, the Streamlabs thing. So yeah, sorry about that. The
comments go into the live chat now.
Well, no, it's Streamlabs, and it gives the name of the person that just tipped $3 is racist. Knock is the worst N-word. And I'm going to assume that's J-Dubs, but I can't delete that comment.
Oh, you know who I saw too, and we were up to 30. I don't know what we're at now. Sky Out.
That's going to be
Sky Out was in the live chat too, Knock.
That other guy that hangs out with J-Dubs. What's his name? Will somebody other.
Shitstain.
Yeah.
Shitstain. His name's Shitstain.
Yeah, exactly. That guy.
Yeah, that's what people are automatically assuming it's Will. I've never actually heard Will use
The
that
one
word,
who's
though.
the one who's a cross-dresser, the transvestite. What's his name? Will Chamberlain? What was it again?
I call him the baby manatee, but he's a grown-up manatee now because he's having a baby.
That guy is the transvestite I'm talking about.
Wasn't their comment that they left with the $3? It's their name. I just
Yeah.
saw what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
I don't see
People stoop
J-Dubs
so
using
low.
that, but I see that. What's his name? Will McCandless? Fuck, I don't remember.
yeah. Will and Smokey and all of them can't be seen in the side chat anymore because they're banned. I don't ban
I
many
see.
people, but they got banned.
Banned. They should be raptured.
Yeah, they should be raptured. Although Will doesn't believe in that shit.
You see, Will's an idiot. He
Smells
says
the
he's
shit
a
stain.
Jew. He says he's a Jew while he orders from McDonald's. Come on.
yeah. Oh,
While he orders filet McChickens or whatever they call chicken McFillets at McDonald's, he says
Hey.
they're kosher.
you can't show that.
I want the world.
They'll do it all the time.
I like how that goes, because basically what that tip says is, I want the world to know that I'm a racist piece of shit so bad I'm going to pay $3 to let everybody know.
Yeah, I think that would be J-Dubs, because J-Dubs actually talks like that. Will's, I mean, I don't necessarily think Will's a racist. I think he's just an idiot. But or at least I think he's a racist, but I don't think he blatantly says racist stuff to where J-Dubs will. So I'm going to assume it. And J-Dubs has been throwing a lot of money at the channel, or not a lot of money,
Why?
$1 or $2 here, but
Wow.
he likes to do his thing.
Have you done a review on his burning the Quran video?
I thought about it. I actually saw it live when it happened. I thought about it.
Who did that?
J-Dubs and Will.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, they
Oh, brother.
they tore it into pieces.
They
and
tore it
burned
to pieces and put page by page into the fire, and did something to the cover that was disrespectful. I'm just against burning any book.
Me
even
too.
Mein Kampf.
Yeah, I don't want to go around burning religious text. I mean, they're gonna have their place in
any
history
text.
when all's said and done.
You know what?
I'm just more concerned about the worship of it, how they use it. Like, it can be up on the bookshelf. It ain't gonna harm nobody.
If the only way that I would burn a Bible is if, like, I had weed and I was out of papers, because Bible paper makes good smoke wrap.
It will work.
Ricky Gervais had an interesting comment. He says, if today they take all the religious books, every single one of them, and all the science books, every single one of them, and burn them all, they're gone. There's no history. It's all gone. In 1,000 years' time, all the science books will be exactly the same as the books that you burned 100 years earlier or 1,000 years earlier, but all the religious books will be totally different.
Right.
And that to me is a Gnostic statement. And that's why I call myself a Gnostic atheist, or a strong atheist, or a 7 on the Dawkins scale atheist, or whatever you want to say. I do not give one iota of a possibility that there's this.
Are you an anti-theist?
No. Listen, I have no say in the matter, because people who have been oppressed by Christianity are today Christians. The blacks, the Native Indians. In other countries, in Africa, they're Christian countries that used to be colonies. So I don't have a horse in that race.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially Native Americans. Some still follow the Red Road, but most are indeed Christians, and it's a sad state.
Yeah, but I've only heard people in our sort of debate group, the wider group, talking about slavery when it comes to the black slavery that America
I mean, what the fuck is going on?
It's
So,
what they call it,
so they hid that
genocide,
dude.
slavery.
They hid that dude that sent the $3 tip, and then so like all his messages went away. So now I keep pressing on view deleted message, and it won't come up. And I actually unhid him accidentally and had to hide him again because you know what I'm saying. Like in blueprint, it has view deleted message, but every time I press that, it won't
Yeah,
bring it up.
the issue is like there wasn't really a message; it's the name.
Oh, he didn't leave a message. He was just posting.
Well, I mean,
He just made a donation without a message.
yeah, and he just posted a comment in the chat, and I don't think it's the same name, but it's basically the same name, and it was just emojis. So I
ice
think
cream
it's
cones.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely Wilkin K crew. Definitely.
Aha.
Yeah, it's probably like J Dubs.
So apparently, then if it was just emojis, you can't view the message when it's just emojis
Probably not.
because there wasn't actually words there.
I actually doubt it's probably J-Dubs because I think J-Dubs is actually live right now, and he's not the best multitasker.
So it's probably P Mars or Will.
Yeah, P. Mars just
P.
doesn't.
Mars.
He doesn't.
He could
He's
be
never
him.
tipped with his racism before.
I think that
would be like I don't know, like as I drop my bowl.
I think J-Dubs.
I just broke
I think
my brand new
J-Dubs.
bowl.
I think J-Dubs
Oh,
actually
man.
is one hell of a multitasker because he can simultaneously be a piece of shit and an asshole.
That
Oh, yeah.
is fucked up.
Look,
I just bought that shit. Oh fuck. All right.
what in a bro?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Broke.
You have a backup?
Oh yeah. I've got like 50 of them. All right, here we go, John. The fun begins.
All right. So do we move
Oh,
on?
there he goes.
Do we move on, or do I still have to pound it into your heads that you are 100% sure that there's no God?
100% sure there's
Like I hold
definitely
that
no
position
God.
too. I hold that position too as well, Sydney. But I don't think it's really necessary for us to be like, oh, if you're an atheist, you have to, bring your as the same as mine. Like I think there should be allowed for a spectrum. Like we should all be able to have our own way to articulate our ideas. There's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still like, the Christian shit is just BS.
I agree.
I mean,
it's the creator God thing. You can argue the Christianity or whatever you want, but the actual creator God thing that they say sparked all of existence, we have to know that is unscientific, therefore impossible.
Defined unscientific. Because I can tell you right now, I don't think you can prove scientifically that a god like Azathoth doesn't exist.
Okay, well, how about no, you're right, but I can prove that. I can prove using what do they like to use? They like to use the second law of logic.
Thermodynamics.
No, the
Yeah.
law of logic.
No.
The
no contradiction.
No non-contradiction. Okay, you can prove that no God just using that, because you can either have existence or you can have non-existence. You can't have both.
Wait a minute. What did I just do?
Hold on. We have existence, therefore we cannot have non-existence. That's it. Simple.
So, I mean, I don't understand why Danny's in the live chat. You can come back in, Danny. I was just fucking with you, man. I didn't ban you.
I was just typing out. I was like, I didn't know this morning that John would be here today. John must have kicked you.
Yeah, I didn't kick him. I didn't ban him. I mean, because if you track Danny, here it is. If you try to ban anybody, there's certain steps you have to go through, because then you have to set it up so that anybody that comes into StreamYard to come into the room has to authenticate through YouTube or Facebook. So I didn't have to go through those steps. I pressed kick from studio and you disappeared. And I was sitting here looking at the screen, waiting for you to come back and come in here and pitch a bitch about it. And I was going to laugh at you.
I don't know. Can you come back if you've been kicked?
Yeah.
You can.
So if
As
you're
long-
kicked, it just means you're
I'm a
kicked.
good proof of that on Praise's channel.
Oh yeah,
Right,
I should know
and
that.
then-
I've been kicked from Praise's channel.
Right, and correct me if I mean, there's got to be somebody in here who knows what I'm saying is true. Is if
Yeah.
you try to ban somebody, there's certain steps you have to go through, and then from that point forward, anybody that comes in the room has to authenticate through either Facebook or YouTube.
Secular pagan mom says she banned somebody
Maybe in the live chat.
Yeah.
in the live chat. Yeah,
Yeah, Danny
okay.
said that his main account is still banned.
Maybe he showed up in the room, Danny.
Yeah, that's what.
Unless they changed the shit on their.
Is he on your block list, Rage?
No, I don't think so. Shouldn't be.
No, he was in the room. Here he is back now. See, he was full of shit. Once again, there's where
Oh,
Danny
so yeah, he wasn't blocked.
he wasn't banned.
No,
Danny with the hyperbole.
I just figured, John probably doesn't want to.
Jeez.
my main account is banned, John. I don't know if you're aware.
I don't know how.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean,
Yeah,
what?
it is
How
weird.
many Danny accounts do you have?
I have 6.
You have 6 Danny accounts.
You got another
Yeah.
troll tipping you, knock.
Hmm.
I have
Geez,
lots
that-
of email addresses. I'm
That's not odd at all.
pretty popular.
Because this is gonna be fun, and I just figured, John didn't want to, I was just telling you this morning, like, yeah, John really doesn't like you, Danny. But to answer Sydney, I don't know. I'm actually gonna examine as I choke on my bowl. I'm gonna examine it because I have been thinking, I went pretty soft atheist, agnostic atheist, and I've been there for about a year and a half now. But I have been thinking about re-examining that, just seeing, I have been granting room to theists, too much room, actually. Like in the slavery discussion, I would often grant that Israel was actually better than most of the civilizations around them. Well, I start talking to historians, and they're like, well, that's just not true. Most of those civilizations were following the laws of Hammurabi, and they were very similar, and Israel was no different. So I think that I do give too much ground to theists, and I am like really considering of re-examining where I'm at and possibly falling harder on a harder line when it comes to my atheism.
Excellent. That's good to hear.
Well, and that would be just
you'll never win a popularity contest.
At one time, you identified as an anti-theist, didn't you not?
Yeah, and I definitely identify as an anti-theist again. That's just becoming more knowledgeable what an anti-theist is. I was putting a lot of negative connotations on anti-theism that doesn't have to be there. And once you just get down to the root, it's opposition to theism, it's opposition to dogmatic practice. Then yeah, I think by definition I am an anti-theist.
So am I.
I'm an anti-theist. I'm not an anti-theist. I'll tell you what I am anti. I'm anti anybody under the age of 14 being...
Oh, so you don't like Danny?
I'm anti anybody under the age of 14 being exposed to theism. It's
Why?
not for children, because it's not for children, it's for adults.
What does that mean to say it's not for children?
Is pornography for children?
Well,
Yes or no?
Depends.
Yes or no?
I think it should definitely be on.
Depends.
What
on,
did you
on
say?
even ground.
Wait, what
Did
did
you
you
say
say?
depends?
Yeah, I'm a particularist. I don't.
What do adult diapers have to do with it, Danny?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You said depends.
Yeah, the idea is
So-
that I don't take a principled position.
So Danny, you think it's okay for kids under 14 to look at porn?
What do you mean by okay?
Like they can watch it?
Dude,
Well, they can watch it. Are you going to disagree with that?
yes.
Yeah.
It's possible.
He kicked it.
Sorry.
I am definitely going to disagree with that
Sorry.
because if
Okay.
a good parent will put
What
up
do you mean?
blocks on it.
I'm sorry. If you say something like, "What do you mean by okay?" I'm going to kick you.
I
I'm
agree
sorry.
with your decision. I
I
agree
mean,
with your decision.
what do you mean by okay? Like, okay, that is a person with their head so far up their
rear end.
philosophical asshole. What do you mean by okay? Like, Danny cannot have a normal conversation.
No, he
Who's
can't.
Danny? I've never really met Danny. Who's Danny? What's his background?
Well, Danny's the 14-year-old that I spoke of a few
I
months
know,
ago.
but why? Who is he, and what's his nonsense?
He is like the epitome of a contrarian. He is the epitome of a technicalist. Like he finds a technicality in everything.
Danny is very philosophical, so
he
gets a stir out of people, and I like it.
I wrote too much.
Anti-Dannyist.
No, the point is that like I think what you were saying, it's not for kids. Like I was raised with Christianity, and I think Christianity really impacted my life in a beneficial way. And I'm glad.
Like how?
Well, I got a community. I actually was really into theology. I had a sense of.
Whoa! You said you've got a community, so your community is restricted to those who were raised in Christianity.
That doesn't follow.
In other words, somebody outside of this community who wasn't raised in Christianity cannot be part of your community.
So no, I didn't. None of that is implied by what I said.
It's just another, actually not even racist, just another regular community because that excludes other people from other communities. Like all communities.
What do you mean by exclusion? Like my church accepted anyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I loved my church. I loved leaders.
How does your church accept an atheist who doesn't believe in Jesus Christ?
With open arms.
What do you mean by accept?
What do you mean by accept? Okay, you've got to allow me to give my sermons, give me my point of view. I should be able to teach you the interpretation of the good of the good book, the word. What do they call it? The good word, the good news. I should be able to bring you good news.
Yeah, my church invites disagreement and discourse. Yeah, sure.
So Danny, your church welcomes transgenders, transsexuals, and the LGBTQ plus community,
and Orthodox Jews.
If we have the same if we have the same understanding of accepts, then sure.
Okay.
Well, what's your understanding of accept?
We probably don't have the same understanding of accept.
Well, okay. There's only one.
What is your understanding of accept, Danny?
There's only one understanding that I can think of.
They wouldn't close the door. They would treat them nice. They would, if there was an event like a fellowship event, they would feed them and to converse, and there wouldn't be abuse.
Would they accept them for who they are? In other words, would your church accept them as a member of your church the way they are without having to become something they're not?
Yeah, so the idea
they would have to endure insane amounts of preaching.
The idea of gender, though, is defined. The idea of gender is defined in the church, not in terms of like a subject. For at least for the church that I participated in. So, what they're going to understand as who they are is going to be different, but they're not going to be disrespectful. They're probably going to avoid any use of the pronouns. They're going to just stick with names, right? If they were really, really committing to the biblical. Understanding, or at least the Christian understanding, if not biblical understanding of gender. But they wouldn't be rude on purpose.
But gender is in the brain. Do you understand that? Gender is a social construct.
Well, yeah, I mean, I accept that now. But I'm saying that I was asked how my old church would have accepted people like transgender people or atheists, and I'm saying that they wouldn't abuse them. They would be very kind to them. They wouldn't they wouldn't be so confrontational. I mean, I just don't really see the problem.
Well, if you're being treated as a second-class citizen, then you're being treated as a second-class citizen.
I don't know what that means.
So I'll tell you what that means. If they're not referring to you in the terms that you wish to be referred to, well, as in if you're saying like I want to be referred to as a they them, and they're not referring to you in that way, then they're treating you as someone who doesn't warrant that kind of respect.
Well, they wouldn't even think of it in terms of respect. They would just be committed to their epistemic notions of gender.
That's the problem. Is that villains don't realize that they're villains, and they're thinking that they're good people.
But you're just begging the question against the position.
Well, no, I mean, so there are definitely churches out there that would accept gay and transgender people today, and they would accept them into their congregation. They're very open. There's not many of them, but they are out there. If you would have answered along those lines, but like, you know, for one, I'm assuming maybe you still go to this church. You're still fairly young, but I'm assuming going to this church routinely, you were a very young person, so it wouldn't really even be privy to the way they would truly approach. I know several people that make the same claim, but their churches use a shame tactic. You know, the whole point is to get you to God and to shame you that way. If more times than not, so you might not have noticed that, or you probably never even seen an interaction of a trans person trying to come into your church or know what that reaction would be.
No, I've seen that before.
That's why we say, like, you know, our term of acceptance is definitely going to be different, because when we say acceptance, we mean 100% accept them the way that they are without trying to change them. And, you know, that's what we mean by
but that's controversial, right? Like if the point is that if you don't understand gender in terms of a social construct rather than like a theological concept, there's a question about why they should revise their concepts to your own. Now, I agree with y'all that I'm more in line with y'all ideologically, but I'm saying when I was a Christian as a kid, right, they would have just the polite Christians that I associated with would have avoided pronouns altogether and just stuck with names.
Right, and hold on, the point you're missing, Danny, and that I think Andy was trying to get to is that's a problem right there, okay? Because that isn't acceptance, okay? If they said, well, you know what, I don't even just want to deal with, you know, they're saying they want to be called by the certain pronoun, I'll just use their name because I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to respect them enough to address them.
But that's not their attitude.
Hold on. I'm talking. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. So,
I love John.
Yeah, hold on. I mean, you got to do that with Danny. I mean, because here's the thing: even if you use a person's name, and even if you are someone who respects that, you carry on a long conversation with somebody, and at some point, a pronoun is going to come out of your mouth. And and sometimes, the wrong pronoun because it's kind of a different situation. And anytime I've had that happen to me, I apologize to the person. But if somebody tells me that they want to be referred to as they and them, how is it any skin off anybody's nose, religious or not, just to do as they act? That to me, that's just respecting a human being's wishes. And the way you're making it sound to me is that you think that there's people there in religion that have a right to disregard other human beings because it somehow doesn't fit into their idea of religious beliefs.
Yeah, you're just not capturing how they think at all. I mean, the idea is that they have a concept of gender, and it doesn't include this like radical.
I'm not. What do you mean? I'm not concept. Look, dude, I was a Christian for 35 years. Okay, I can speak from both sides of the argument. I understand both sides of it. And
well, then you would understand that their concept of gender is rooted in something other.
It's not about their concept of gender. It's about their concept of sin.
Right. And here's the thing.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. Hold on. Wait. I gotta finish. Hold on. Here's the thing. That doesn't necessarily say that it's not wrong. Just because they have a certain idea of gender or a certain idea of what their God expects for them. I understand that. That's their impetus to how they would act and avoid the pronouns like you were talking about. But that doesn't make it right.
I don't know, but you see, rightness. I don't know what that's doing here in the conversation. The point is that if they're committed to a certain conception of gender, either they have to lie and not mean what they say when they use the pronouns, or they just omit them from their vocabulary.
Well,
right?
Why would they have to lie? Why would they have to lie?
Because
another human being says to them, they don't have to agree that they're they or them. Another human being, what's the point that they would be making? If another human being asks nicely and says, I would like to be referred to as they and them when you use pronouns, What?
Yeah,
how
but if
is
they
that-
don't see them in terms of those terms.
They and them is singular usage. It has been for.
I get to dictate the terms that people.
Yeah, but
talk
let's
about.
be fair
I
here.
get to
It's not just
dictate
they
the
and
terms.
them, right? It's not just they and them, right? We're talking about like misgendering people that want to be identified as a he, and then they use she. Okay, maybe they and them is a way of out. So I'm talking about
whether it's he or she though. Again, they can still believe what they believe, but why does that have to include disregarding and disrespecting somebody?
But again, like they're not intending to disrespect when they're just avoiding the pronouns altogether.
But I could smack
Sitting
Tobin
here
in the
talking
balls.
about what other people.
I could smack Tobin in the balls right now from like 2,000 miles away. It's like, I don't intend to smack you in the balls, Tobin, but hey, that's what I'm doing. So, I mean, it's the
that matters a lot.
Oh, what? My intent on not smacking them?
If you hurt someone without intending to hurt them, I think that has a huge implication of whether they're blameworthy or not.
And pleading ignorance is no excuse at some point.
Wait, presumably you want to blame them, right?
No excuse.
But Andy, you want to blame them, don't you? Right? I don't understand.
What I want to say is that the action, because it's about when we're talking about changing behavior, it's about looking at the behavior and saying that, look, that behavior that you're doing right here and right now, that's not appropriate.
But then that would confer blame, and how would they be blameworthy?
No.
Intend
Because
to?
when you're talking about behavior, you're talking about behavior. Blame
Sorry,
has
what?
nothing to do with it.
Well, then what do you mean by
mic test?
We heard
Yeah,
mic
but
mic test.
But you're saying that they should revise their behavior, and that can only make. I only understand revision in terms of action in connection with blame.
We can hear you, Sammy. Danny, what we're saying is...
Just because I just got here, can I ask a question to Danny?
Sure.
Do you know where the problem for me comes in? Is the fact that whether your intent to imply this was there or not, you literally just said it doesn't matter what a person's wishes are. If you don't see them a certain way, you ain't gonna call them that way. And that's the fucking attitude that we have the problem with.
Yeah. But I'm saying you can have that attitude and not intend disrespect.
Who are Christians to tell non-Christians how they should be called?
I mean,
based on
just because you don't intend respect doesn't mean disrespect.
Disrespect, you mean?
Just because you don't intend disrespect doesn't mean disrespect isn't given.
I just totally disagree with you there.
I think that most people are intending disrespect when they even by just using the name, they're doing that intentionally.
If they're intending to disrespect someone and infuriate them and frustrate them, I'm right there with y'all. I'm just saying there are a lot of people.
If I say to you, Danny, if you don't refer to me as these pronouns, if you simply avoid using pronouns and have to dance around how you speak to me, that's disrespecting me. Are you
not necessarily?
How
is it?
I tell you,
hold on a sec. Whoa.
Let a mutable
I'm feeling disrespected by you. What you're saying.
How is it disrespecting to you that you don't get to call a person that you're having to change how you would normally refer to a person using their pronouns?
Are you talking to? I don't know who you're talking to.
I thought we were talking about pronouns. And
I'm just saying something. I'm just saying this, that like if someone really doesn't view someone as a particular gender, and then they might just wish to avoid pronouns altogether and maybe use names or they, them or something like that, and that could be done purely out of, that might not be done out of disrespect. That just might be easier for them or convenient for them.
But it's still disrespectful to
I don't know what you mean by disrespect anymore if you don't attach it to blame.
But people who prefer they, them are usually, not always, but usually non-binaries. And if you refuse to use the they, them pronouns that they prefer, you are telling them that they are less than.
That doesn't follow.
Well, hold on. I've been quiet for quite a while. I want to interject here. I'm going to agree with Danny on one point. I 100% believe he doesn't have a concept of what disrespect means because he's usually very disrespectful of people. So I'm gonna say he was right.
Thanks for your contribution, John, as usual.
Yeah, to me, I just don't see
contribution.
I just don't see the point of like why you engage with somebody like who may have like a non-traditional conception of gender, like why it's appropriate for you to impose like what you think their pronouns on them as being their pronouns.
Yeah, that's a serious question. And look, I'm on mostly y'all's side, right? Like I get I refer to people by their pronouns no matter what my concept of gender is. But some people are not like that, and I don't think there's a good argument to other than just like bullying them into it to suggest that they should use the relevant pronouns, right?
Real quick, thank you, Junk Shop Library. I did not even realize that racial slur was in my tip crawler. I'm going to get it out right now. I just got to find it. Thank you. That didn't even dawn on me, so thank you for that, Junk Shop Library.
So I don't understand though. Yeah, I totally forgot. Something Danny said that was fucked up, but
I'm going to have to go back after this stream now and try to blur that out because I didn't realize that was flashing on the screen.
What was it?
The knock is an N-word donation was on my tip ticker.
Oh,
remember, the original question is, I really appreciated my church community. I really appreciated my religious beliefs despite their falsity. And I think I'm a better person for it, right? I'm not saying that people can't get to where I am, or if that's to say in a content state only through those means. I'm just saying that those happen to be the means in which I'm content. The story of my life, is very deeply involved in Christianity, and I don't regret any of it.
Well, what I was getting at is you were indoctrinated from a very young age to believe that God is real, and you were told this by people that you trusted, that you loved, that would never lie to you. That to me is abuse.
What do you mean by? I mean, I was educated, right? I took apologetics and stuff like that.
When you were 7 years old, you didn't believe in God.
Oh, I did.
Of course you did. You were told you were brainwashed to believe in God.
Yeah, I was brainwashed to believe that the square root of 9 was 3. I mean, I didn't know why.
I mean, the thing is, like,
maybe you were, but the square root of 9 is still 3.
Yeah, but the point is that we're taught all these things, and we're not taught why.
When you are lied to by
I wasn't lied to
by your family, you were lied to. You were told.
I don't know what you mean by lie.
You were told that God exists.
Let's remember a very important aspect of what lying is, right? It's the intention, like the deliberate intention to deceive somebody, right? I mean, I was raised as a Christian as well. I don't think my parents
were told that God does exist. There's no argument.
Yes,
but they believe that. They do believe that. So I'm with you guys. I don't think that that's a lie. But it doesn't stop you from feeling like you've been lied to.
You were abused to believe that 100% this God exists.
No, I don't treat that as abuse. I mean, I think they were genuine in trying to like reinforce the values that they had as being people to give me their same values.
Genuine and abusive at the same time.
Why would that be abuse? Look, there are going to be cases in which.
Okay,
let's try to go one at a time.
I want to talk about genuine and abuse. You can be beaten by someone who legitimately.
Why do you always have to interrupt me when I don't interrupt you?
I don't understand like why it's automatically going to this abuse situation. If I was taught that Santa Claus existed, like since I was a young child, is that also? I mean,
why don't you listen to the whole statement, to the whole presentation that I make, instead of interrupting me, a third of the way through and trying to ask me questions that you don't know.
Go ahead.
I haven't finished my presentation.
Go ahead. I mean,
all I said was abuse, and you cut me right off without me qualifying.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead then.
I was going ahead. You were both cut me off.
Well, if you're going to keep complaining about it, you're not going to finish your statement now, are you? Go ahead.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You're right.
Go ahead. Finish your point.
Cut me. I know. I don't want to be cut off.
No, I'll let you expound your point. It's just that when you say something like the word abuse, it raises eyes because her word has very specific connotations. And if you want to expound on that, go ahead.
It is. Listen, emotional abuse is abuse. Psychological abuse is abuse. Even the when you realize that your parents were lying to you involuntarily, you question why weren't they intelligent enough to figure out that God doesn't exist and tell me that?
That's
Well,
just a
you were
contradiction,
intelligent.
though. You contradicted yourself.
You see, I said you would interrupt me. Anyway,
Why would I let you speak when you're just like contradicting yourself?
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on.
boss.
How is it that you let anybody speak, Danny? Like you don't get to let people speak or not speak. I mean, it's that's the problem with you is you think that you have some special status that other people don't have.
Okay, thanks for your contribution, John.
Why would you let him?
That's a valid question.
The point is that he contradicted himself. Why waste his breath?
This is an old person versus an old person. Young person versus old person. Danny, how many times have you been beaten in your life by your father because you did something wrong, morally speaking, in
What
terms
do
of
you
the
mean by
Christian
beaten?
God? Beaten by like the fucking strap, like the strap, like the
even,
belt,
even a hand,
Like
even
the
a
belt.
hand.
How many times have you been beaten? How many times?
You didn't discipline. I mean, count.
No. This is the point. I'm asking a question. I want an answer. How many times have you been?
Yeah, I was spanked a lot of times.
Okay, so you've been beaten.
Andy, to be
So
fair,
that person has been acting in good faith and still abusive at the same time.
That's not abuse.
Andy, to be fair, Danny pays real money to be abused.
Cognitive dissonance.
That's
Why
what he
would
gets.
look? I think you're conflating like corporal punishment and abuse. I think those don't mean the same thing.
I don't.
Yes, they actually do mean the same thing.
Exactly.
They are exactly the same
No,
thing.
they're not. They don't mean the same
Just
thing.
because
One is
somebody tells you that they're beating you because they love you doesn't mean it's not abuse.
It doesn't mean it is abuse or not abuse. It's not. It's
if you're using violence, that's abuse.
Well, I mean,
I don't necessarily.
Only with a Christian, when you
Whoa.
have only with a theist that you'd have to say something along the lines of, if they're beating you, that's abuse.
I'm not a theist. I'm an atheist.
But you still have the artifacts. You have these artifacts in your head from theism. And
I don't know what you mean.
All of us who were raised in theism have these artifacts running around in our heads, and it takes decades.
Wait, do you think that corporal punishment?
Decades to get rid of.
Do you think corporal punishment and abuse are synonymous?
Why do you disrespect your parents, Danny?
They're not. It's not synonymous. One is normative, the other one is not.
Danny, why did you disrespect your parents?
Why did I?
Yes.
I don't. Like in any
They
case,
taught you that God is 100% true, and you are disrespecting them by saying that you're not a theist anymore.
I don't think so.
Disrespect of you to your parents.
I don't know what you mean by disrespect.
No wonder they talk about you disrespecting other people.
I don't know what you mean by disrespect.
Okay, Danny. Danny, you're saying corporal punishment is normative and abuse is not, and that's why they're different.
No, I said that corporal punishment is non-normative, it's descriptive, whereas abuse is normative.
That makes no fucking sense.
There goes John. All right, so let's take a pause, and I'll let you go, Immutable, because I know you're on that side. So my position is that physical abuse is child abuse, and I understand that most people were raised that way. I was raised with physical abuse. I don't look at my father as a physical abuser. I think to him it wasn't abuse. So, but at the same time, it was physical abuse. Anytime that you use violence to tamper a human being, that to me is physical abuse. So I also consider indoctrinating children into religion to be physical abuse or to be child abuse. But I don't think it's on. I don't think it is along the same lines as, say, taking a belt to your kid or spanking them with the switch, which is what I got, especially from grandma. Grandma would tear our asses up with that switch, and that was fucking abuse, man. It was definitely abuse.
Of love? Is that an absence of love?
I believe so. But that's just because it's the way that I raised my child. I love my child. I can't hit her. I don't want to harm her.
You can't figure out how anybody could hit a child.
Yeah,
that's the thing I had. When I have my 12 children or my child, and I see, there's no ways that I'd be smacking this child like or screaming or shouting or scaring or. There's no way. How could other people have done it? How could they do it? Where's the love?
How could people have done it? Because how people have done it, I can tell you how.
I have a question.
I did say I would let Immutable talk, and he was trying to talk. So let's let
wait. But before Immutable, Knock, what do I have to do to not get kicked? I'll do whatever. I just don't. I mean,
don't talk.
Well, tonight, like I really, and I was trying to type that out to you, Danny. I will keep the screen up to let you back in. Tonight, I did not know this morning when I told you to come tonight that John would be here, and John, and I did tell you this morning, John really doesn't like you. So.
Well, right, and
I love the drama.
I will admit, I am taking liberties because I came here for one night only, and who knows how long I'll be gone when I leave tonight. I'm definitely taking liberties, and I apologize to you, Doc, for putting you in that position. But it's just like, if I have to hear him say one more time, well, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, well, I mean, or say something stupid like corporal punishment's not abuse. I mean, like that, they're not the same thing. Like, yes, they are. Okay. And you explained it very succinctly, Knock, that yes, there was a time when, and my dad did the same thing. And, but I don't think of my father as being an abusive person because back then times were different. We didn't realize what we realize now, but it doesn't matter when it happened. If it happened 200 years ago, just like the way women were treated 150, 200 years ago, or even 70 years ago. Okay. Even though it might've been acceptable and people didn't, look at it as bad, we can judge it now and say it was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it was wrong.
Hitting children with implements. Look, I can train a dog without corporal punishment. Okay, so if I can train a fucking dog without the use of corporal punishment, I can train a human being without the use of corporal punishment.
Jordan,
I have a thought that's contrary.
Oh, go ahead.
There's a dog. There's a dog, and it comes over to my property. And I have a dog. I have a pit bull. It will eat this dog. Now, if I shoot this dog, I can get him to go away, but he will keep on returning. But if I take my slingshot and I pop him in the ass with the rock, he doesn't come back. And I'm saving that dog from getting ate. Like and it would be a form of abuse, right? I just
Your dog is
violent action.
I want to talk to that.
That is why he acts like that by wanting to.
It's the least restrictive amount of force. Speaking as someone who's worked with violent people and has had to do physical restraints on them, you use the least amount of restriction as possible. So in some situations, maybe that's necessary, but in a vast majority of situations, in everyday situations, there are a variety of other tools to use besides physical violence.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people are advocating like every chance you get to beat your kid's ass because they didn't, they stepped out of line, you should beat your kid's ass. I mean, I don't think that's what, like most people who are like, advocating corporal punishment are trying to get across.
Actually, what I'm advocating is that no parent ever should strike their child, ever, for any fucking reason, all right? Period. End of discussion. Okay. There's no reason to use corporal punishment when you have a thinking human being on your hands. And if they're too young to where they're not cognizant of the world around them, then that's even more horrible to strike them when they're that small and when they're that young.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately what I mean. There are other forms of parenting, and we just never really utilized them or even thought about them, but they are out there. There are different ways to punish your children without striking them, without doing physical violence on them, that have the same exact ramifications that striking them would have. You just got to figure it out with your particular child. You've got to take the time to figure out and know your kid. And oftentimes physical violence is the easy route because it's been acceptable in society, and using that physical violence will get the reaction you're looking for. And it's also, parents need to be honest with themselves. They're taking aggression out of themselves. So they feel anger within themselves and they're taking it out on their kids. And that is not right. You're a grown adult who is exponentially stronger than these children are. They are literally innocent lambs before you, and you're just choosing to do violence upon them.
I mean, I'm sorry. That's that there are times like where kids do wrong, like even when they're not intending to do
you
wrong.
Punish them, but you don't have to use violence.
I I mean, to say that like spanking your kid is the same thing like as abusing a child, to me at least, like it really undermines what abuse like actually is.
What is abuse?
Like I've had
argue-
abuse. I've had to deal like with friends like that have like been physically abused in their life, like where they like have been like beat up like almost every day, like where they're not able to defend themselves.
Where do you
like
think
where
that
they
behavior
are
comes
like
from?
under?
Where do you think that behavior comes from?
I think that behavior fundamentally is from, you know, a lack of parental structure, but it's, in the same sense, it's also due to the fact that nobody has taught the kid how to defend themselves.
Well,
I can guarantee
what
you.
I'm talking about is the parent dynamic, though. So the parent has been spanking and beating that child all through their young lives. That child gets to a point where that child becomes independent and grown, rebels a little bit to it, so the parent resorts to the next level, which is closing the fist. It is a progression of abuse. It's not. It doesn't justify the limited abuse you gave throughout their younger years.
Positive punishment does not work in the long term. Positive punishment does not work. You can look at the data. You can look at the scientific research on that. And if we're going to be good skeptics, then we should accept that positive punishment, which is the infliction of harm on another person, in terms of behavior change, is not effective in the long term. In emergency situations, if you're going to take your kid out of the street, if they're running out into the street, and you yank them back onto the sidewalk, that's one thing. But in terms of a regular strategy, inflicting harm does not work. It just creates more problems.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not
Jumped
saying
out, Rage, and so just as a closing statement, I think the biggest key that Immutable is missing here is he is essentially, I guess like the other Christian was doing earlier, deciding for everybody at what level that spanking becomes abuse. Because I know people with anxiety and different conditions where a simple tap is enough to traumatize them. So
yeah, it's like I said, my dad didn't beat me much. My brother got it more because my brother was he was a certified genius. He knew everything in school, so that, like he just didn't pay attention. He already knew all the shit. So he would be talking a lot. He'd get in a lot of trouble. So my dad would take the belt to my brother all the time, to where I was sitting in my bedroom reading Dune, you know. So I didn't get it much, but I remember every time I did, every single time. I remember it I have a very vivid memory of that instance. And to me, that is a psychological scar, and that indicates abuse.
Hey, so not to like change the subject, but I just had to share this with everybody because it's so heart-wrenching, and it's just got me feeling so bad. Like fucking Danny in the live chat, he said, at the Raging Atheist, well, I'll talk to you later. I think it's unfair kicking me, but looks like you don't really care about fair moderation.
I'm a shitty moderator to begin with. I mean, I've always admitted that. So, like, if you saw this stream this morning, like I was AFK, shit went down, and then, you know, I come back in and I'm like, let's settle down. But then I bring Mathpig on to be able, because I felt like Mathpig needed to be able to defend Amanda. So I'm just a bad moderator, and it is.
Well, yeah,
like I said, John's here tonight, and he's not going to be here for a while. So I want John to have the reins.
Yeah. I'm taking liberties. I admit.
That was great moderation.
And then so well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, and there's been a few times where I almost like stepped back into it. Like, I got to control this room, and I was like, oh no, I don't do that anymore. This has got to be not doing that.
Yeah, and I suck at it. I always have. It's just something I accept about myself. I really like, you know, free ranging conversations. So I like, but like I do need to be better about, you know, like once people are over talking each other, like putting a rein on that and letting one person talk at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like when I'm chatting with people, I'm trying to tell people like how they should or shouldn't raise their children.
Well, yeah,
and I'm not like trying to play like arbiter of the law
don't
here.
lie to your children. That's the first thing.
I mean,
don't.
We all are going to end up lying to our children at some level because there's facts about the world that exist that they can't understand.
Yeah, and I do agree with that, Immutable. I mean,
and the type of answer that you give them isn't going to be genuine, like to the reality of it.
I'm not talking about the lies that Santa Claus. You're not traumatized by knowing that Santa Claus doesn't exist, but when it's bashed into your head that God exists and God wants this from you and God, that is child abuse as well. Whether they know it or whether they don't know it, they should know it. The parents should know that. They should have thought about it enough to know that they're lying to their children when they push God. And and that is the deep scar that these people have. I don't have that because I was never indoctrinated with God until, well, I wasn't even introduced to God until I was like 14. So
I think it does vary too. I think it varies.
Immutable.
Yes.
Can you answer this question? Or Denny?
Sure.
Oh, Denny's not here.
Yes,
now.
Lisa.
Somebody's in the back.
Sure, I can answer.
I take your point, Sydney, but I don't consider that my parents abused me by indoctrinating me with God because they thought that it was true. And if you think something is true, no matter what you think is true is really a lie. If you think it's true, you can't really lie.
Okay, well, the lie was told to you. So if it wasn't your parents' fault, it was the Pope. The Pope told the bishop, told the priest to tell you that God absolutely exists, and if you don't believe me, you are going to go to hell. You understand me?
Yes, I do blame the leadership because I believe the leadership knows it's all bullshit.
I want to make this point out as a parent. That if you are going to outsource the morality to the church, if you're going to outsource your child's moral teaching to the church, then you have given up responsibility, and fuck you, you're a bad parent. That's what you're doing.
I don't see that as like mutually being dichotomous, though. I mean, I think a lot of people have essentially like inherited cultural values from the church, but there are people that also like have like familial traditions as well, where they're not as strict with like the law that's presented like by the church. And I don't think like most, like at least the church I was in, like the rules that were abided by that church didn't pass into the home necessarily. Like, and if anything, like there were more so like guidelines for life, like don't steal from people, try not to get into fights with people, things like that.
Well, I mean, like take for instance, like the Catholic religion. Like if everybody that was a Catholic, got their moral fiber from the Catholic Church, well then, I mean, pedophilia would be off the charts.
I mean, that's not necessarily true. I mean, there's always going to be deviance.
Your 3-4-year-old misbehaves and you spank them.
Yeah.
They turn around and whack you back. What do you do?
Yeah, they're going to go to their room. They're going to, have time to reflect on what they've done.
Why not bypass that spank and go straight to the room?
Why pass that spank? Because when I see my child do wrong, or when I see other people do, like children do wrong, I don't have children, right? Like I've had to like look after like cousins and things like that. But when I see like a child do wrong, and especially like I don't do these things like unless I've had the parents' permission. I'm not going to like supersede their own authority. But when I see an action like that's done wrong, huh?
You'll encourage it.
Encourage spanking? Not.
Yes.
Like unless it's something like that's
if
not unless it's like something serious.
Say, yeah, go ahead, give him a good old whack.
Yeah, I mean, well, not to speak down on you, immutable, but you're kind of saying that, like I'm assuming that you were spanked as a child, and now as an adult, you think spanking is okay, and I think your intent matters, and the level. There, like I said, there's levels of abuse. But again, like to Sammy's point, is there are ways to do these things without utilizing violence. You just got to take the time to figure out your child. My child really likes her electronics. And if I take away her electronics, it's the end of the world for her. And she is learning a valuable lesson, and I don't have to do it by using violence and shame techniques. I can do it by teaching her a vital life lesson and realize, hey, there are going to be penalties you have to pay in this life for your actions. So it is important that you make the right decisions, but you don't have to utilize violence in that technique. There is a different way. You just have to break that cycle. Violence comes in cycles. And once you've been made to normalize it, well, then it does become normal to you. Do you see
But that's
that?
actually really interesting. That's actually really interesting because
to me, hold on, Danny, can I please comment on that real quick?
Well, before I'm kicked, it's funny that she would actually rather have the violence than the competition.
Who, me? No,
it is John's night to play to do it. So.
Well, and I wondered. I kept looking at that name, and I was about to say, "Hey, that new person, could you give us a mic check?" Because I had my suspicions that.
I mean,
hey, can I say he who shall not be named? So he
Danny, please come back to the next one. I'm sorry I invited you because I did not know John was going to be here.
Can I say he who shall not be named so he can come in here?
I mean, like, Rage, to me, there's a difference between, like, because I've had both, right? Like, there were times, like, where I had, like, my ass beat because I had, like, stepped out of line and I could not sit the next day. Mm-hmm. Like, I've had those type of ass beatings, but I've also had the ass beating where it's like, yeah, it's a good hard smack on the ass.
Oh yeah, I had too.
Like, and that's all.
We had an aunt that we would beg, let her do it.
Yeah, like there's different levels like to which it would occur, and it would depend usually like on the type of action you did and whether or not you lied after it.
Can I real quick jump in? I'm not going to be long. I'm going to be 2 minutes, and because I have to go to soon. Well, I had behavioral problems, ADHD, learning disabilities, blah, 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 blah. But nothing was done about it until I was 30. So when I was having all these behavioral problems, getting in trouble left and right, my dad would beat the fuck out of me. I mean, not just a smack in the ass. My dad, I used to have super long hair when I was a kid. My dad would I remember one specific time, my dad grabbed me by my hair and literally threw me down the hall when I'm like 6 for something. Who the fuck knows, whatever I did. I used to get, whenever I got in trouble, which was pretty often, I would get the shit kicked out of me. That didn't teach me one fucking thing. You know what it taught me? To be scared of my dad. It didn't teach me lessons. It didn't teach me how to be a good kid. It didn't teach me anything. But I better not breathe a certain way because I used to go to school. We used to have I remember one specific incident. And the beating that I got was bullshit, actually, because I didn't do anything to deserve it. Like, this was one time I didn't do anything. I was dragged into I'm talking to one of my friends, and I was supposed to be watching my sister. She was riding her bike up and down the street. And I turned to watch my sister ride her bike, and I started coming back this way, and I turned my head back to talk to my friend, and I feel a tug at the back of my head. My dad was dragging me into the house by my hair. He picked me up by my jaw, and we used to have this wooden microwave stand in the kitchen. He threw me into that. I had like a bruised welt cut on my back. I'm in elementary school. I'm like 8. That didn't teach me anything. It taught me walk softly, don't breathe too loud, don't make eye contact with it. Stay out of dad's way unless it's absolutely necessary. Because because whether you're in trouble or not, I'm going to get my ass kicked. Yeah. There's literally, it taught me nothing. The person that I am today is not because I got beatings or spankings or any sort of corporal punishment. The person that I am today, I kind of had to figure shit out on my own. I kind of had to I kind of worked, kind of made up my own kind of quote ethics to be a decent person. I'm not a decent person because I got beating and I got spanking. There's actually science against that. There's actually science that shows corporal punishment is harmful to children. So as somebody who used to get, and my dad never laid a hand on my sister, not once. But I would get, I'd go to school with split lips. I had like a bruised thing on my back. Like when you take a 5-year-old and drag her by her hair and throw her into the fucking wall, that's a fucking lie. And that teaches nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's literally no reason for that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no reason.
I'm not advocating that like people should just go ham like bashing a baseball bat against a child's face. Yeah, that's abuse. I take abuse to be like punishment or forms of violence in which a child is not like or is not able to protect themselves against. Like that. That's what I take.
There's ways to teach your kids.
That's all spanking.
There's ways to teach. Because I have friends that have kids that don't lay a hand on their kids, and their kids fuck up, and then they learn not to fuck up because they're taught not to.
I just want to say,
and other ways to punish.
By that definition you just gave, though, Immutable, that is all spankings. Children, they're in no position to resist that. They don't have the strength, the physical capacity, or the social capacity within the family dynamic to resist that.
It's funny because when I turned about 17, 18, my dad never laid a hand on me after that. I'm big enough to defend myself now. And he never laid a hand on me after that. Now, a lot of my behavior problems kind of settled to where they weren't so bad, but I still had issues. I was still, he never laid a hand on me after that.
I just have to say something because a buddy of mine's in the live chat now. And I just want to say, you people are so wrong. It says right in the Bible, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Well, I'm just glad to see Otangelo back because I did cuss him out on.
Whoever said that,
Otangelo,
we don't give a fuck about what you.
I'm glad to see him back because I did cuss him out on Speed's channel, and he's been a little salty.
Hey, Lisa, that was me that said that. I was doing an impression of Otangelo.
Yeah, it's so anyway, real quick, I just wanted to jump in with that. But any sort of physical violence, a smack on the ass, and I remember incidents where I just started like 4th or 5th grade, and my mom wanted to see what kind of math I was going to be doing that year. She was just curious about what I was going to be doing that year. So she kept asking me to bring my math book home, but I didn't have math homework, so I didn't remember to bring my math book home. One day, my dad grabbed me by my hair, held my head down, and smacked me in the head with a sneaker. You know what that taught me? Oh God, if I don't bring this math book home, he's gonna literally kill me. That's what that taught me. Any sort of violence against children is not necessary because they're fucking children. A smack on the ass or a beat in the head with a shoe. Any kind of children.
That's where I disagree. That's where I'm at a contrary.
Let Tobin disagree.
At a
please.
certain point,
Go ahead,
at a certain age in which they don't understand context. Okay. There is a line. You should not throw your kid to a wall and do the things that happened to you, Marty. But I did as a parent. I spanked my boys, and
but you shouldn't
I did
have.
for the reason I did it for the reason of them acknowledging having a way to acknowledge. Oh, there is a consequence to my actions.
That's fine, and there's ways to teach your children about consequences with their actions. There's ways to teach that because you know what? If they go to work and they fuck up, they break a rule at work, their boss isn't going to beat them and as a consequence of their actions. There's other ways to give consequences.
No. But if it's jail and they'll do that, I mean, there's a point in which violence. I'm myself.
Your mic sucks right now, Tobin. You're roboting out a lot. Actually, I can't really hear you. You're trying to talk.
Okay,
I mean, real quick, Lisa, and then I'll let you go. And I do want to try to get like everybody involved here because this is an important discussion. And I would agree with you that has always been the way. That's what we've generationally done. But I'm telling you, I never even had to do it in that age frame that you're talking about, Tobin. And parents don't have to make those choices. You can choose another way. There are other ways to parent these children, teach them right and wrong without using physical violence. And we are a more sophisticated civilization now. And I think it's our responsibility as parents to seek those ways out. If you love your children and you want to create free-thinking children, because once you think about it, the moment that you resort to physical violence, you are setting up a dictatorship in the home. It's my way or the highway, and you're not allowing those children to become themselves.
I think that's a stretch, honestly. I genuinely think that's a stretch.
I don't. We've lived within the male patriarchy within this society forever. How is that a stretch?
I mean, to say that like they're like that, like you're never going to be able to do something. No, it's setting down boundaries. It's saying, look, there are things you can do. There are things you are not going to be able to do.
I literally gave you a quote there that my dad used on me. It's my way or the highway. You know, it's
I heard that before too.
Do as
I also heard,
say, not as I do. These are the things
I
that I heard as a child.
I brought you into this. I brought you into this world. I can take you out.
Pretty much the philosophy I was.
There is a line.
No, pretty much the philosophy I was raised with as a kid was, look, here are the rules. If you want to follow them, you can follow them, and everything's going to be fine. But if you ain't following them, there's going to be punishment in some form or another. You may get your ass beat. You may have your electronics taken from you. One way or the other. It really depends on the severity.
Wait. You can't conflate those two.
You can't. They're not the same thing.
Yeah, you can't say.
I'm not anti-discipline, Immutable. Kids can give you discipline, of course they do. But you don't need to raise your hand to a child because they're a child. They lack the ability to defend themselves. Children are literally, if I walked up to you, if you said some shit to me, we're in a bar, and you said some shit to me that was really disrespectful, and I punch you in the face, you could have me arrested for assault. But if your kid acts out and you smack your kid, well, that's discipline. What the fuck? So I can't hit another adult, but I can beat up on a kid for fucking off?
To bring your point, right? How do you think a child who's never been exposed to violence before is going to respond to a culture which is constantly engaged in violence?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm actually. Let me respond. Let me respond because I was, I was actually thinking about bringing this into the conversation earlier because it is my intention. Well, we do live in a violent world, and you do know how to defend yourself. But I don't think it should be done half-ass. I'm actually putting my child into martial arts as I learned martial arts as a child. It's a very disciplined training on self-defense, and I think it's important that you allow your child to be ready for any situation. It doesn't require committing violence to your child to get them there, though.
That's literally what I was just going to say.
I haven't spoken for a while. I got to get in here before we get too far past it. So, Immutable, bringing that up, were you making the point that there's a probative value in spanking your kids because it teaches them about the violence in the world?
Yeah, I hope you weren't going there.
No, I mean, I think the reason my parents did that with me is to say that, like, look, for the majority's sake, like, you're not going to be physically harmed, like, because my parents weren't that type of people. But to bring the point that, like, the area I was brought up in, if you step out of line, you better believe you're gonna get beat up.
You mean the area, but you're gonna get beat up by like the neighborhood kids or like your parents?
By neighborhood kids, by authoritarian figures?
Yeah, I used to get into fights in elementary school constantly. I used to fight. I used to get into fights, but my dad beating me up at home didn't prepare me to get into fights in front of the fucking other kids.
Yeah, spanking isn't preparing you for that. I grew up in a neighborhood. I mean, we fought. I grew up in the country. Once I moved to North Carolina, I grew up in the country down Davie County, North Carolina. We played this game amongst our friends. It's called Splat. We'd get drunk and we'd go out in the front yard and we start fighting. The last man standing, they won the game. I mean, it's in your nature to fight back. You're going to learn how to do it naturally. It's always better to learn and have training, and that requires a disciplined teacher, and a parent is not that. And utilizing spanking or violence techniques for discipline, that's not prepping you for a violent situation. Getting training will.
So I just have to say I'm gonna head out here, and I just want to say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, John.
Bye, John. Take care.
And I just want to share.
Bye, John. Nice to see you again.
I just want to share that the only effect spanking had on me when I got spanked as a kid is now I can't come unless somebody spanks me.
Oh my god.
Oh, there we go.
How did I know you were going there?
It's been so long.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Congratulations, Nakasuchi 3000. That's his new name now. He's forever now Nakasuchi.
Wish you many spankings.
That is a special number now.
So my point is, violence.
All right, guys.
Yeah, have a good night, John. Thanks for showing up tonight, man.
Night, John.
Night.
Violence breeds violence. Okay.
Yeah.
If I guarantee you, I am 99.99% sure that if you look in Derek Chauvin's past, you will find somebody who had been violent to him. Okay?
I wouldn't necessarily, because I'm not a violent person.
There are some instances where very, very nonviolent people have resorted to very violent action. But I tend to agree with you overall.
Lisa, that shouldn't be a factor because he's the trained professional.
I think like violence and competition.
Yeah, so he deserves to be executed today.
But you know,
oh boy.
I mean, bullies were usually bullied as a child.
That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to pass it, especially to use it when you're in a position of authority.
I don't believe in the death penalty, but I definitely think he should be in jail forever.
Yeah, I'm
convicted of first-degree murder.
I'm very cautious about the death penalty, but there are situations where I think it's appropriate.
Okay, so I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to jump in on that thing real quick because I just wanted to share my experiences how
Marty.
getting my ass literally beaten didn't serve me well, and that should be any sort of violence, corporal punishment against kids is fucking disgusting. Personally, but that's just me.
I mean, I don't think it should be the go-to method of choice. I mean, I think it's used mostly with the intent.
No,
what, Kevin?
I don't know how many times I spent watching the same 9-minute and 29-second video of George Floyd being slowly murdered by Derek Chauvin. There is absolutely no reason how anybody could get lower than that. There's not even an execution that is worse than what this guy did.
I agree. I don't believe in the death penalty. I just don't. And I think actually by giving these people death for a lot of these crimes, you're letting them off the hook. You're allowing them the one thing that they have. Life in prison.
You're allowed to execute traitors.
You're sending them to a nothing. You're sending them to a nothing when they can actually live in a living hell for the rest of their lives.
True. This is true, but you're American, and you must agree that the punishment for treason is death. Right?
Yeah, and I don't agree with. I don't agree with it. I don't.
Derek
agree with
Chauvin is guilty of treason, death. If nobody else wants to, I'll kill him.
How would he be guilty of treason?
I mean, there's clear examples of it.
Guilty of treason.
Of treason?
Because he was acting like a communist policeman.
That's not treason, though. I mean,
yes, it is. It's he's acting like a Chinese communist policeman.
I mean, he committed murder.
That is anti the Constitution. Therefore, it's treason.
I think what we're really looking at is consequences. Look, I only spank my kids at a certain age. I have teenagers now. We all get along. We all play.
Just you wait. They have trauma.
I have an 18 and a 16-year-old.
I guarantee
I have an 18 and a 6-year-old. And we are all getting along.
Yeah, sure you are.
Very well.
Just wait. It'll come out.
It really won't because we are. I'm not trying to try kids out. I'm not trying to push
your children,
kids out. But what I'm trying to say is there is a certain thing which there needs consequences for actions. There has to be consequences.
You're coming in and out. You're coming in and out, bro.
I can hear him just fine. I mean, I think the other guy's really interrupting him.
Yeah, we need to let people speak. It is choppy, but I can understand him.
I wish I could figure that out right now because I actually have gotten some new equipment, and I'm kind of. It sounds good to me on my side. I don't hear choppiness.
It's not choppy. It's clipping. It's clipping.
Yeah, it's
clipping a little bit, but it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
If I go like this, does that help it? If I'm no?
I don't know. Honestly, it's weird.
Yeah, StreamYard is just sometimes weird with different people as well.
What I will say is that I think everyone could agree with this, is that if everyone in their elementary education and high school if we learn something about behaviorism, about cognitive behaviorism, something about shaping behavior, that would be good for everyone when they become a parent, or whether they have a pet, or interacting with other people. I think that would be beneficial.
Sure. I mean, and I think the lesson of behaviorism is it doesn't really like it. It's not a method that should be employed. Like it can get things done, but it doesn't do it like in the right way. Like there's better ways.
Behavior. It's about incentivizing good behavior. Ultimately, this kind of cognitive behavioral kind of therapy. I mean,
yeah. I mean, and I think the issue you run into is that like behaviorism can also be used as a weapon, right? You can also use it like to encourage, like it can also be used like to motivate like cults and things like that.
Well, as Thomas Aquinas would say, if I'm going to bring up Thomas Aquinas, nothing is good or bad in and of itself. It is the use that makes it so. So we use humanism to inform how we use our tools. And so, of course, when we're teaching people how to engage compassionately with each other, then cognitive behavioral tools are used in a way to let's say interact with our children or train a dog. I mean, and I know a lot of people cast me the look when you're talking about interacting with your dog and as well interacting with your children. But there are similar rules there about incentivizing good behaviors, about positive reinforcement, because we have a choice in this country to either be a nurturing society or a punishment-centered society. We've seen what can happen in a punishment-centered society.
And really, like
with Andy,
I mean, I don't think. Like my thing is, I agree with you. I mean, except for I think like there are certain, especially when we deal like on the scale of like populations of people, there definitely is a need for punishment. Like there definitely is a need, like to to lay down the book and to lay down the law to, if nothing else, protect people, right, from people that are genuinely and legitimately dangerous to society.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be raising sociopaths.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't want somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer or something like that to be loose on the fucking streets.
Well, once again, it's about the least restrictive way possible. It's the least. So some people, you have to restrict their freedom quite a bit.
In a lot of ways, we're still catching up here, honestly. So, what we're talking about is an archaic practice from a time when it was necessary, right? So, but we live in a different world. Science has opened up this world in ways, that I don't even think we're still trying to catch up. And once we catch up, there goes science again, outdistancing us. And when we say like there is science on this, and the science has come in that physical abuse just doesn't work in the household, and these male patriarchies create abuse. It is clear to me, clear science, and we should utilize that and look at it in the same way that we would look at things like evolution. I mean, this is just the natural evolution of humanity, and we are better now, and we should be better with our children.
People who spank their children also spank their animals, and I think that is unforgivable.
See, that's the thing. I'm a dog trainer too, and I never really had to take my dog. I was able to do kennel training. My dog never.
You said earlier
that
your dog would attack and eat another dog.
Where my dog was inside the room. Hang on. There was a time the dog was inside the room, and I was also taking care of a cat that was not mine, but somebody had. I was babysitting the kitten, and it was inside the bathroom. The door opened, and my dog was going for that cat, and I popped it on its behind, and it turned around, and I was able to shut the door quickly. Like, I didn't have to exert a whole lot of force. I'm trying to get to the point where, like, I'm trying to justify my actions that have previously done. Like, at points in times, I have had to react in a violent manner. I've been in that moment where it felt necessary to. And really, I don't even know if I had a whole lot of control over it, but something had to be done, because if my dog would have gotten a hold of the cat, it would have been bad. It would probably been worse for my dog.
Why would your dog be that aggressive against the cat?
No, it didn't have the cat getting a hold of the dog.
There's a reason.
But if it's really bad,
it's usually the owner of the dog that has not understood how to communicate with the dog.
I don't know about that. Some dogs are just naturally violent.
Yeah, some breed. I mean, different.
You
They
never
have different personalities
an animal.
temperaments.
You never.
I've had
ever.
look. I've had dogs before where if they do not know you, they will bite you and will not let go of you. And it's not because I'm not nice to them and I don't. I do. But those fuckers will not let go.
I've known some
if they
dogs
view
too.
you as an enemy, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do that's going to stop them.
I've never met an aggressive dog in
Could
my
be
life.
flipped the other way around, where the cat is also extremely
Cats are cats. I mean,
volatile.
cats are
And that's what I was actually worried about my dog more than the cat, because the cat was really it was backing up and it was in a defensive mode and it was in a corner. I knew it was going
cats are like feral.
I've seen cats tear up dogs. I've seen it happen. I mean,
the point is not to I'm not trying to shame anybody for you're the same kind. It's like the same kind of abuse. Like, say, what Marty was describing, closing your fist. But there are levels of abuse, and I'm not trying to say that you're in any way wrong for doing something that society accepts. I'm saying that we should have a conversation about these things and start realizing that there just are other ways, and start looking at ourselves. I mean, anytime we're doing something out of aggression onto something that's innocent, I think that morally we should be looking at those things and recognizing those things when they happen.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, and when the electronics came out, and I figured out, I could take away their little Nintendo DS, and that totally destroys that. That totally changes their attitude. That did. I mean.
Yeah.
That pretty much
like I said, with my daughter, it's real simple for me now. I take a tablet, it's the end of the world, and she knows she done fucked up. But it took it took consistency to get there. It took her understanding that I was going to do something that was going to punish her. But one thing that she's never had to worry about is me doing physical harm to her. Never once.
You raise a good point, Knock, about being consistent. Kids need to be aware of, and I see Tobin agreeing with me. I think this is something that we can all agree with in terms of tools, is like being consistent, so that people, whether it's your kid or anyone else that you're around, they know what to expect, right? So that it isn't like, oh, dad's just popping off because dad had a bad day or something. If you can be consistent, then that builds up a relationship with other people.
Yeah. And she's a good kid, man. I had everybody around me. Oh, you don't spank her, she's gonna be a spoiled, rotten little brat. And here she is, 11 years old, and she's one of the best damn kids you'll ever meet. So, and they all say the same thing. Oh, we were wrong. Yeah. There are other ways to parent, and I think it does take really good parents to show the way and talk about it, and not be afraid to talk about it. I'm not trying to put myself above anybody. I'm just saying I broke that cycle of abuse. I did not use those same techniques that I learned from my father, and I've had better results for it. I made bad decisions in my life. I rebelled against that. I rebelled against the domineering father in my household. Just go look at my criminal record. It did not work with me.
I'm actually an untraditional father. Like me and my wife, we both wanted to have kids. We want the family. Like, one of the things that's different about our little family is that I'm not going to be like, oh, y'all, you've hit 18, you're 21, now you need to get the hell out of the house. I'm not going to try to push them. Like,
my sister-in-law
they're my
said it best.
family.
Yeah.
I enjoy being with my family.
Parenting doesn't stop at 18. Like, I'm looking forward to my daughter being 35, coming over for Sunday dinner because she misses dad's cooking. Coming over to do her laundry. It's parenting never really ends, and I do hate it when parents seem to think that parenting ends at 18. Get the hell out of my house. You're an adult now. No, you are the parent. It's your responsibility to guide them through their life until yours is over. That's how it is to me.
So let's talk about blanket training while we're on this subject.
Blanket train.
One of my favorites things to talk about that makes me want to physically vomit. Blanket training is It is a technique that fundamentalist Christians and other religious religious peoples and cults will utilize. It'll usually start 4 to 6 months old, and you'll put a baby on a blanket, and you'll put something shiny next to her, whether it's your keys, whatever that baby's going to reach out and grab, move from that blanket to get. And you're going to put it just out far enough for that that baby to go get it. And the moment it does, you smack the baby. That's blanket therapy is what they call it.
Yeah,
wow,
what?
that sounds like
No.
Yeah, that's abuse. That's abuse.
Tell me about
how
it.
is that therapy? How's it therapy? For what?
It's not.
It's not.
No, that's not therapy.
What's the diagnosis? What do you?
It's pretty much you're training that child since before the time it can even learn how to think to respect the authority. That's what you're training it to.
Don't touch, smack. That type of thing.
Yep. And eventually the baby's going to stop going for those keys. So eventually the baby's going to stop going for those keys. And once you do, you've broken the baby.
Like a loser.
Actually,
but they can't even handle those kind of concepts.
I think of it as training the kid to.
You're gonna break the baby. Oh my God.
No, it stays with the baby all the way up through adulthood, and it'll come out at some point.
William Pearl really made this famous, and it's in his book How to Train Up a Child. It's a quiverful movement, and sex like the 12 tribes, but a lot of sex. Mormons have utilized this blanket therapy. So I mean, it's everywhere. It is.
Is it literally just to break their spirit?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Sounds like it.
How was your day, dear? Oh, it was good. I got to break the baby's spirit. Good job.
Yeah, it's they pretty much see them. They see it pretty much essentially as the same as hard training of a dog, of an animal.
Oh, breaking a horse.
Yeah, breaking a horse. Yeah.
Those are the same people who think phrenology is a science. Let me figure out what the bumps on your head are so I can tell what the personality is.
Yeah, those kind of people. That's wackadoodles.
Yeah, thankfully, I was never subjected to that. I don't know too many people that were, but it does happen, and it happens more than I ever thought it would. I don't see how you can look at a little baby and be like, yeah, I'm gonna spank that ass.
Well, once you have original sin, my friend, I think a lot of things are available.
I mean, my daughter was colicky, so like the first 8 months was like we got no sleep. Like she was screaming, and we got no sleep at all. And I never once like spanked the baby. Never once thought about it.
Well, what does that accomplish? Really, what does that accomplish?
It doesn't, because it can't even handle those concepts.
Except telling your baby to be afraid of you.
I think that's the point.
Well, yeah,
control.
It is the point. It's the male patriarchy. So if you look at these really deeply fundamentals, it's all biblical. And it's a male patriarchy. They call it the umbrella. So there's God, there's Jesus, and then there's the husband, and the husband represents Jesus in the household. So any disrespect to the husband, this is where these male dominating households come from. Even if it's not to this extent that I'm talking about, but any Generation X I know had a really good chance of growing up in a male-dominated household, and it falls under this umbrella to where the man is the authority, the man is the discipline giver, the man is the breadwinner, and what the man says goes, and that's how they rule their family. So when you disrespect the husband in these umbrellas, you are literally amongst these really fundamental groups, literally disrespecting Jesus Christ himself.
I want to talk about breaking baby again for 1 minute. And seriously, there's something called learned helplessness, and learned helplessness leads to depression. And the thing is that if you are taught that you have no control over your immediate environment, if you have no control over your life, then that it can easily morph into depression. So the idea that you're teaching your baby not to reach out and control their environment, I don't know if there's peer-reviewed studies, but it strikes me as something that would lead to learned helplessness and depression as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
It also strikes me as something that would say either consciously or unconsciously, whether the parents are trying to do this consciously or unconsciously. To me, it also says, don't be curious.
Yes.
Well, stay in your little bubble.
Yep.
Agree, Lisa.
Yeah, there's an old demonstration.
Yeah, I used to hate that. Hearing that I'm the king of this household. You know, like that whole like attitude. I did not carry that on with me. Like I did not like that. Like I actually will go to my family and be like, look, this is my problem. This is what we need to do. We have this issue. Like it's all like we're working together to do something or to reach a goal. Like that whole patriarchy that you're talking about, Rich. Like it's like I don't like it whenever I go to somebody else's home and I start hearing the dad like talk that kind of shit. I'm like, you know.
The only answer I ever got as a child to the question why was because I said so.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that reaction.
Oh yeah, I hated that. I hated that. You know, when a child gets to the point where they can understand why you're telling them to do something, and I'm speaking as somebody who doesn't have any children, but I do have 2 nieces and 1 nephew. When a child gets to the point where they can understand why you're telling them to do something, you need to tell them why you are telling them to do something.
Yeah.
That's just common
even more
sense.
than that, it's not their responsibility to understand you. It's your responsibility to know the level they're on and get on their level.
Yep.
And I don't.
That was something that
a question that can be asked by a child that you should not answer. You just need to figure out how.
Yeah, I definitely I said that I spanked my kids and it only was for a short period of time because what's there is but once that you do spank them or set them in the corner or whatever your choice of punishment is, that discussion definitely does help. Like I implemented that and I see results from that. I think that that does help. However you go about the actual punishment, there needs to be a discussion.
You know, it's a funny thing, but our kids' occupational therapist, such a simple thing, but you know, as parents, we often too in the middle of it to figure it out. But we have more effect by telling our son that what he did made us sad. And that has more effect on him than when I tried spanking or even his thinking spot. Him thinking that he's upset us has more effect. So funny how we
that's
work
how it is
like
with
that.
me. I always showed, you know, I did the thing my dad didn't do. My dad never showed us affection. Now I have a daughter. He had 2 boys. You know, people say that's a different dynamic, but I think that that's wrong. I think that you need to show your boys affection too. I grew up afraid of my father. I didn't grow up loving my father. So my main thing is always showing love and affection to my daughter. So when she knows I'm upset, that really it upsets her that I'm upset, and that within itself is a lesson. And yeah, so when I'm actually punishing her or taking something away from her, then it is a really big deal instead of just a simple swat on the ass, which a lot of parents resort to out of frustration most times, and something that becomes normalized. This is never normal for her. She hates it every single time. And then the moment that it does start to become normal and she's like, well, I'll just get on, you know, this other thing that I want to be on. That's when I'll take that other thing as well. But I rarely have to do that, like I said, because she's such a good kid that I allowed her to be herself and herself is just fine, you know?
All right, I'm going to run everyone. I'll see you
I'm
later.
I'm gonna close it down
Bye,
before
Andy.
too long. But yeah, thank you for coming, Andy. We can talk for a little bit longer, but I took a pain pill not too long ago, so I'm gonna be shutting down before too long.
Okay, take care. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Thanks for being here, Andy.
Did anyone else do the in my household? It got to a point where we would flinch every time Dad walked past us.
Oh yeah, I felt that way.
And
I was really uncomfortable when Dad was around.
Yeah,
I'm also gonna get going.
We physically put
Bye,
our hand up
Immutable.
in defense.
All right, take care, guys. I'm gonna get going. I got a few things to take care of before Speed does nada. So
Yeah.
take care.
Thanks for coming on, Immutable.
See you, mate.
Yep.
I always like it when it's a topic that I can actually argue with Immutable Destiny about, because usually he knows. I mean, usually, there's not many topics with Immutable that I can feel like I might know just a little bit more about this one than you do, because he's so fucking smart.
But I think I really, really believe that blanket training should be outlawed. Like,
Oh yeah, that is
the world over.
that is like corporal punishment. It's just abuse.
Today's the first time I actually ever heard about that.
And technically, I think usually when these things happen with sects like these, then the federal government ends up getting involved. It's usually the FBI that will raid these compounds of these fundamentalist groups that will do it, and they will take those children away. It's really famous with the 12 Tribes cult using the rod. FBI now are raiding these compounds and taking these children away. Now you get to court and they have that thing called freedom of religion, and they often get these children back, and it's a very sad fucking thing that's happening in this country.
Well, look at what's happening with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm sorry to be harping about this, but it's been going on for a long time, and people need to know that the Jehovah's Witnesses, they abuse their children. And when I say abuse, I don't mean corporal punishment abuse, even though I do think that's abuse. I'm talking about throwing them against the wall abuse. And they abuse their children. They abuse their wives. They shun people. I mean, if you are a Jehovah's Witness in good standing and your child gets disfellowshipped, you are required to shun that child.
All right, so this I thought I could find it, and when I mentioned William Pearl, I wasn't sure if YouTube would have taken it down by now, but I do believe I found it. This is really old footage, but this is William Pearl. I'm going to show it real quick. But this isn't like blanket therapy, but this is a mentality within fundamentalist groups on how to raise and do violence to children. So I'm going to share the screen with you guys, and the audience won't actually see you when I'm sharing the screen, but they'll hear you. And we'll just play this thing real quick because it is wrong screen. Michael Pearl
Probably needs a trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning, guys. This guy is messed up. This is the author of How to Train Up a Child.
Looks like my old friend Michael Pearl's getting a bit touchy in his old age. Recent site and the YouTube channel. I'm also going to ask that you mirror the video far.
Child is going to have authority. Mother, you got to let that man be the authority.
All right, we're back for question and answer time. I've got my little lady. This is my first wife I brought with me tonight. Does it look like a man's writing or a woman's?
It's okay, I can live with it.
Man's? Tell your wife to slap you. She looked up and saw that camera. She got up and dusted herself off. Look at her. She turned red in the face. We just stood there and ridiculed her. They have to really turn red in the face and pass out or something. We had a kid there in the church. He kept coming and had these black spots all over his head.
This sound on the
YouTube
channel, though.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that YouTube still has it up. I mean, but you get the essence. It's pretty much promoting biblically that doing severe violence to these children is necessary to keep them in a line with God's wishes of them, to make them the respectful creatures that God demands.
We never heard anything.
Y'all never heard that? That's weird. I had it like added to the stream here.
It was coming through on the stream, but we didn't hear it in here.
Yeah, no audio.
That's really weird. How
I couldn't hear.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I'd rather not hear it.
the visual was disturbing enough.
The side chat, in the side chat, you guys heard it, right? I heard every word of that. That's really weird.
In the side chat on the live stream, it was coming through over the YouTube live stream, but in this
StreamYard's having some issues, man.
They did it to my stream the other day. No,
wow.
I sat through a 2-minute intro before someone told me they were watching in silence.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've done that on YouTube. Screwed up a whole show because of it.
That sucks, man.
More than once.
But so essentially, I mean, you saw it. He was talking about a kid that came into church on Sunday and had black dots on his forehead, and he showed how the kid got him. He bashed the fucking head into something, right? Like it's how they dominate their children within these male patriarchies. They dominate the wives. You saw the wife. You saw the wife, but you didn't hear the wife. The wife is essentially saying, "Mothers, you need to let your man punish that child."
That's disturbing.
Yeah,
it's
really disturbing. But it is a fundamentalist cult movement with a very large movement within Christianity.
But, call the cops or something. It's like disturbing.
It's a very large
like
movement
watching.
within
You know what?
Christianity.
Watching Derek Chauvin murder that George Floyd did is just as disturbing as watching this type of abuse being.
Oh yeah, I watched it again.
I agree.
I had to watch the George Floyd murder again because a few certain theists were laughing about it. So I watched it again and I showed it again. And it's nothing to laugh at. This was, I mean, it's absolutely brutal to sit there and watch that for 9 minutes.
It is.
I could only watch that thing once, and I couldn't keep crying when I watched it. I mean, it was just fucking horrible.
Well, I watched the whole trial and the opening statement by the prosecution. This was part of it. The whole thing. We had to sit there and watch it again and watch this man die. And watch this other fucking asshole, instead of putting his hands on the back or whatever he could have done, he had put his hands in his fucking pocket and used his knee to slowly drain the life out of George Floyd. That is worthy of execution.
And then threatened to mace any of the civilians that was coming to try to help the man. I mean, it was just he pulled out his mace and he better get back.
How is Auschwitz any worse?
Yeah, it's.
And why didn't the police officers do anything?
And
they're just as culpable. They are just as culpable.
The right wing is trying to make this man a hero, just like they did Kyle Rittenhouse, and it's disgusting.
What?
It's absolutely disgusting.
Well, believe me, if I was there, I would have risked my life to save George Floyd. I would have done whatever I could to stop that man. I would have done whatever I could to stop that man.
I do think that like the civilians there should have just bull rushed the cops at that moment.
There was a guy there who could have done it. That dude who was a martial arts. He didn't take.
I think that there was enough of them there. They could have outnumbered the cops. More cops got there, and the situation could have came under control.
That little 9-year-old girl who spoke about watching this man being murdered, and that little 4-year-old. I mean, they had to sit there and watch it as well. And the fact that it's trained policemen, they got the power of the federal government behind them when they're making a mistake. Even it's
done where the casualness that it was done is remarkably. It just shows the insensitivity and the lack of compassion.
You know what's insensitive? Every one of these white theists who say it's good. He was on fentanyl. George Floyd. I mean, Derek Chauvin didn't kill him. It was fentanyl. He had a heart attack. Blah blah blah. Like as if there's absolutely no humanistic empathy for another human being who's restrained and being slowly over 9 minutes with a knee on his neck and being the life is just being squeezed out of him.
Yeah, that's because George Floyd, down on the ground with a knee on his neck, was not a person.
That's right. Exactly.
He was not. He was not considered. There were no considerations for him as a human being.
That's what bothers me so much about these Christians. Now, the same way they think about George Floyd not being a person, they'll think about transgender people not being people, gay people they're not being persons. Anybody that disagrees with them, we as
atheists aren't persons either.
Exactly. And that's got to come to an end. And the only way that's going to come to an end is if we all stick together and say, "Fuck you and your 100% God. We've got 100% impossible. There's no God to even talk about. So fuck you, and just get over it." And I honestly believe that given enough time and not that long, this will all be laughed at. They will even themselves be laughing at their own. Like so many people in here who said they were Christians for so many years, 15 years, 25 years, 35 years, whatever. Now they turn around and they laugh at the whole nonsense, and the fact that they even believed it. How could I believe it? I think that's going to spread like wildfire post-pandemic.
Unfortunately, like there's always people on the wrong side of history. Here recently, especially like when it comes to civil rights, it seems like, the right side wins those battles. But I think throughout history, it's you can't really say that. I think oftentimes throughout history, the wrong side of history often win those battles, and we know like victors of wars often write history. But I don't know, like I completely lost my train of thought there. Sorry. I seen that Red Fang was back there, and I was like, oh, I need to put him in, and then I forgot what I was saying. So
the victors of history are the ones who write it, or the ones who win, or whatever.
The winners are the ones that write history.
Yeah. Well, so my point is ultimately, like, right now we have people on the wrong side of history, and hopefully the right side will win out. But this is an issue that, like I said, it's been brewing under the surface. I mean, the Civil War was a Band-Aid on an open wound. It just took a really inept president that was good at manipulating the media to really bring it bubbling back to the surface. I mean, it's funny how like right-wingers blame BLM activists, but there's no blame on Trump for literally creating a dynamic within the country that he had major cities openly in riot. Like they don't hold him to account for that. And it's because it's been bubbling under the surface for so long. Hopefully we'll finally win out, but like there's always been just people that are willing to be on the wrong side of history.
Of course, and those are the theists.
Yeah, I would agree. It does tend, like, there's without a doubt right-wing conservatism in America is linked to Christianity. I don't think that you can really be honest and say otherwise. There are atheists within that, sure, but most of them are Christians.
People like Darth Dawkins and Donald Trump create atheists.
True.
Oh, the Bible created me as an atheist. I read the damn Bible, and I'm like, I ain't following this goddamn book.
Donald Trump is actually an argument against becoming an atheist, honestly, because he was an atheist all along, and damn it, I never wanted him on the team, but fuck, he was there. Another one that I can think of, and I might catch some heat for, but I can't remember his fucking name. I've argued with him a few times. He's the huge Mr. Atheist Pants on Twitter. What's his fucking name?
David Silverman.
Yeah, David Silverman. I don't care too much for him.
I think
never heard of him.
I've read his book. Well, I've listened to his auto reading of his book, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've read some of his book as well, and it is brilliant. His ideas are really on point.
Well, I think as far as atheism was, but like
what is it that you don't like about him? What is it that you don't like about
his politics? Politically, he's just went insane. I think at one point he was a really good representation of atheism, but he's extreme anti-SJW in his politics, and it turns me off.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see him that way. I see him
Plus,
as
not to mention, like, you know, when you have several sexual allegations against you, I always tend to believe the accusers. It's in my nature.
Yeah, but then you have to listen to both sides.
Yeah, so what I'm admitting to right here is when it comes to that particular man, I have a bias because I pretty much labeled him guilty in my brain. So, you know, I'm admitting to a bias.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm non-biased, and I've looked at both sides and listened to both sides of the claims, and he's still the firebrand atheist.
Yeah.
Well, he still is.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not, but it doesn't mean he's above reproach. And if you're
I'm not saying anything into his personal life. I don't think he's got any. I don't think his personal life.
I don't have much issues.
Any of our business.
My issues are with his politics.
His personal life is none of our business. Number one, and it might be our business.
Well, it is our business.
Hold on, let me finish.
If he's a sexual predator, that's everybody's business.
Exactly, it might be our business if he's a sexual predator. But in my understanding, from what I have watched and listened to and come to conclusions about, is that he's not a predator, and he's still just the firebrand atheist, and I still like what he says, and I honestly don't have a memory, a brain cell open for carrying on a bias because he's a sexual predator. He isn't.
Oh shit! I didn't realize I had somebody. I'll get you in, free spirit. Well, and it's not just that. So I mean, there is other things as well. Like I said, his Twitter feed, his politics has went quite insane over the last several years.
Well, I've given up on
there's a different lack of acceptance of like trans people for one. He's made quite a few comments, and he's smart. To me, he would be smart enough to know not to make them. So he's clearly put his position forth.
I don't follow his politics, so I don't quite know where he stands. I don't really care where he stands because I just follow his atheism. You know, he's my atheist guru.
Well, I mean, that's fine. My atheist guru started to be Dusty Smith, and I realized at one point probably not the best example for me.
Do you know that
Dusty Smith as in Cult of Dusty?
Yeah. You still have the YouTube screen.
I like him.
Oh, do I? Let me see. What screen do I have on?
I mean, I'm not going to say.
Right, this one.
He's my atheist idol or anything, but I like Cult of Dusty.
I mean, I love his old stuff. Like his Bible in 10 minutes video, the first one especially, is fucking hilarious. I mean, I laugh every time I watch it.
Right.
He does this thing on religious bullshit. I think is pretty good. That's the only thing I watch.
Yeah, I mean, now a lot of this stuff's hyper political, so it's just not what I dig.
Yeah, he's definitely moved to political talk.
His live streams have a segment on religious bullshit, so.
Yeah, I like his graphics. They're top notch.
When I started the Raging Atheist, it was with that concept in mind. Like what I liked about him was no nonsense. He had a very no nonsense approach, and it was, pretty much fuck you. I'm not the crazy one, you are, and I really dug that. It was, so like when I started raging, I just started raging like, Dusty was gone, so I'm gonna just kind of do that, have that same approach. I wasn't as good and as funny as he was. But eventually I realized, I don't want my channel to be that. I want it to be a true representation of what I think. I want to have open discussion. I want to have conversation. I don't want it to just be fuck you, you're stupid, but it took me a while to get there. And like with David Silverman, I really respected him as an atheist at first, but it was his politics ultimately. I'm a far-leaning leftist socialist, and he is more of a conservative dude. We're not going to agree on on very many things,
Right.
Well, my Saturday live stream at my atheist church on Sunday are for the fuck yous, and the rest of it's educational.
I don't get the politics thing as being the thing that makes difference. You're both atheists. Of course, you're going to have different.
I see. For one, I see atheists that lean right. I mean, you're supporting the politics of the theist here, especially here in America.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt, like I just said not too long ago, like the right wing is linked to Christianity. Yeah, sure, there's some atheists. Throw some atheists in there; they exist. But you are supporting the politics of what you stated earlier would be the enemy, and get these are the people that are laying the groundworks for theocracy in America again. So yeah, I mean any atheist that supports that, to me, I'm not going to just be right on board just because you're an atheist. You also have to be a good human being too.
Are you saying that David Silverman supports bringing theocracy back into America?
No, I'm just saying he leans right. I'm saying he leans right. That's what I said.
Leaning right and supporting the reintroduction of theocracy into America are.
I'm pretty sure he voted for
apples
Trump.
and oranges. Apples and oranges.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he voted for Trump, and Trump did more
I'm
to America than anybody.
I'm pretty sure he spoiled his ballot.
I'm just saying, people's politics matter, and I don't give blanket support just because you're an atheist. You've got to be a good human being,
right?
Well, what if somebody's from what if David Silverman was Canadian? Would you care about his politics?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how come you don't? How come you haven't never asked me about my politics?
It's never came up.
I'm not American. That's why it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. I'm not American, so his politics mean nothing to me as an atheist.
If he was Canadian, I would have to delve deep to see what he actually believes, because Canadian conservative people is a far stretch from an American conservative person. I have a friend, Sock-Account, right? Sock-Account is conservative. He's right wing.
Well, hold on a second. We differ on politics in a major way. Like you don't believe in the death penalty,
no,
and I do.
Yes.
Isn't that politically enough?
It's
not biased against me.
No, it's not like abject transphobia or demeaning of trans people. It's not like
I'm a humanist. I'm a humanist, and then I'm an atheist. How's that?
Yeah, I mean that usually matters. If we got into a deep political conversation and I found out that you were a right wing person, say in support for getting rid of Roe v. Wade, well then yeah, I would see you more as an enemy to my.
That's not right wing. That's not right wing.
How is it not?
To me, right wing conservative is an economic thing. You're more. More,
that's not how.
That's what I'm saying. It's not that.
It's not that here in America. It's a Christian thing.
Well, then.
Yeah, because it goes into more issues than just economics. It does.
Hold on a second. Then you've just shown that there are more atheists in America than there are theists, because it's the atheists who voted against Donald Trump. No theist, no Christian would vote against Donald Trump. So. The atheists voted Donald Trump out of office in 2020. And remember that Trump said during his build-up and during his rallies, he always said, if you vote for Joe Biden, he's going to get rid of your gun.
No, you're the one. So
you're going to get rid of God.
So you're actually putting.
I want Joe Biden.
Don't make me fucking mute you. You're putting words in my mouth now. I said no. The right wing is linked to fundamental Christianity. That's without a doubt. Without a doubt, they pander to them, they structure their laws around them, and they placate to them. Now, that's not every theist in America. I didn't say it was all atheists that voted Donald Trump out. There are a lot of Christians that voted Donald Trump out. I know you're putting words in my mouth.
No, I'm saying that as an analysis, as a conclusion, as to why
your conclusion is wrong.
Yeah, the left-leaning atheist, or the left-leaning theists, and probably even the moderate theists, plus the atheists, booted Donald Trump out.
Especially the atheists.
I mean, the
he was just a fucking goddamn moron who shouldn't have been there in the first place.
66.6% of the U.S. population is atheists. Either in the closet or out in the open like us,
I don't see how you can come to that conclusion because no statistic gives you that. All the statistics that I see is 48% of the people here in America believe that God created the universe and that Genesis really happened. They're deeply fundamental people.
I agree with you, but 50% of the population who say that they're theists, they say it because they're too scared, or there's personal family issues if they say the difference. But inside, they're closeted. Okay, they'll say one thing, but only to appease.
You have to assume a lot to get to that conclusion. Like you're literally saying that you can read their minds and you know.
Donald Trump lost the election. Donald Trump lost the election, and that was enough for me.
Well, you can't get a statistic from what you just said. That's no way.
Yeah,
no way
I mean,
okay. How many theists did not vote for Donald Trump? Out of the percentage,
I don't even think we keep numbers on that. I mean, to be honest,
guesstimate.
I mean, just considering the statistics, I mean, the no's are a growing demographic, but I think we're still only around 25%. So if over 50% of the country voted against Donald Trump, basic deduction tells you a lot of theists voted against him. You know, the problem is with Donald Trump is a majority of evangelical theists who claim to be conservative economically, as you're saying conservatism is. They did not care about him not being that. They only cared about his vitriol and his toxic politics. So, I mean, equating I'm not the one equating that or saying that all atheists voted Donald Trump out of office. That's not what that wasn't even my point.
Well, how many atheists do you think voted for Donald Trump?
Very few. I think. A considerable amount actually. I mean, I think atheism here on YouTube was considerably right wing when it first started. The skeptic community was considerably right wing, anti-SJW, anti-feminism. But it has turned, and more of us leftists are finding our voices.
The pandemic really fucked Donald Trump, and then the atheists drove the nail through his head.
True.
I don't see it. How did atheists drive the nail through his
head?
It wasn't atheism. It was the pandemic that did fuck him.
Yes.
If it wasn't for the pandemic, he probably would still be president.
Absolutely. But
I agree with that.
Are the ones.
But I mean, I think. I mean, the housing bubble was bound to burst eventually. I mean, eventually people were going to realize he's a terrible president. But it wasn't some atheist movement that got Donald Trump out of office. It was pretty much Donald Trump's ineptitude.
Everybody who has a mind and can reason, which is every atheist, reasoned that this guy should not be voted for, and they'll vote for somebody else, whoever it happens to be.
That's not entirely true either, because
so it's partly true.
I'm sorry, I just got to say this. Angels are coming from Africa right now.
I'm talking about the reasonableness of people. You know,
how people are not reasonable. People are assholes.
I'm saying what you said.
I knew the moment that I said anything negative about David Silverman, that in a room full of atheists could possibly elicit a negative reaction, because he has placed himself up on a pedestal of atheism, which is something that I reject utterly from anybody, honestly.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid to even worship anybody that is an atheist. It's stupid. He's just a normal person like me and you.
Should I give up my membership in the Church of David Silverman and go every Sunday?
Because it's stupid to have a fucking church.
Yeah.
As an atheist.
There's not really a Church of David Silverman, though. We're just talking,
But hold on a second. How's he supposed to survive without my 10%?
That's his problem.
He can get a job like the rest of us.
But I mean, ultimately, it comes down to me. Like, I just don't like the guy's politics. So I'm not just, and I think one of the good things about the atheist community, whatever that means, sometimes I'm not even sure if there is one. But the good thing about it is we can look at our own and hold them to a higher standard than Christians seem to do within themselves. And it's not like I'm pointing the finger at David Silverman. Oh, you're an awful human being. Whether I'll make that determination if he's ever proven guilty of the charges that have been leveled against him.
Nobody's charged him with anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's all allegations at this point. But like I said, my politics tend to.
I can actually give you the nutshell story of David Silverman. What happened?
Well, I mean,
a couple of things.
You can say it if you want. It's not going to change my mind.
Yeah,
Like I said,
you can give us his side of the story. Don't change anything.
I automatically tend to side with accusers. I don't believe accusers. I mean, sure that it happens, and I know that it's been documented as happening, but I just don't think accusers often come out and say something of such a personal nature for no reason.
Well, there's two accusers that I have in mind. Do you have any accusers in mind that you're referring to?
Any accuser?
Yeah, like who?
I don't have. I personally don't have any, and if I did, I would fully expect people to question that.
Okay, well, I have that information for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Sydney. I'm ignorant of the situation.
Right. The first person, her name is Beth, and she and her husband and David Silverman.
Husband at the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just let me just say it without your footnotes. She and her husband, David Silverman, are part of the the sort of dark underbelly of fetish sexual life of some sort.
They're swingers.
I don't know, but they it's none of my business, to be honest. None of my business.
Well, somehow you know.
Right. I'm telling you the story. So David Silverman and Beth had a rather bruising bondage, BDSM, whatever they call it, event, and it just so happened that Beth's husband got really pissed off about it, and Beth started, she had to make up an excuse, so she made up an excuse about David Silverman attacked me or abused me or whatever, but it wasn't. It was sex play. Okay, so let's just leave it at that for that one.
Why are we leaving it at that? I'm assuming that's his story.
Because there's another one. Yeah, no, that's his story.
Why leave it at that?
Because that's what it was. It was sex play.
You're making that claim because he made that claim.
So he whooped her ass sexually.
Yes, that's her claim. Her claim is that he that the sex was non-consensual, and she had bruises on her breasts that she had to explain to the husband, and the explanation was that the sex was non-consensual, which is just an excuse for the husband because they're all in this sort of sex the sex fetish thing, community, let's say. And the second one is a woman who accused David Silverman of causing her to have an orgasm when he touched her back. He touched her in the small of her back with clothes in front of everybody. It was just a sort of at a conference after talk, whatever it was. And he touched her on the small of her back, and she had an orgasm, and that's sexual. That's rape. Or whatever. That's the extent of it.
He put his chi inside of her.
And that's literally the extent of it, and that is why I don't consider it in any way. You consider politics, and you take it seriously, fine.
I would actually have to see the actual case and see what's actually being said instead of him putting some chi in her and she coming.
It's all there. It's all there. At least it was, and if you don't find it, I have copies.
I mean, my brain hurts now.
Right.
It seems dubious to me. I'll say that much.
Listen, I wouldn't hang around in that circle of people myself.
You want to hang out with some swingers?
No,
they're a fun bunch.
I don't care. I hate fun. I'm anti-fun.
Well, me personally, I'm asexual, but I mean,
you're no fun at all.
If it floats your boat and your partner's okay with it, be on the swinger scene, be on the BDSM scene.
I have no issues with swingers. I have no issues with adults making consensual decisions. My issues are with adults that say things that didn't happen consensually, and that's actually what we have with David Silverman. So I mean, I appreciate the David Silverman version. I've heard it before. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time. But ultimately, he has accusers. It'll either be settled in court or out of it. If it's settled out of a court, depending on who initiates that, to me, is an indication of guilt. So if the
hold on a second. How about Tara Reid then?
What about it?
Why don't you believe her? And why is Joe Biden?
I have an entire.
Why is Joe Biden not on?
You're barking up the wrong tree. I actually have an entire stream defending Tara Reid and calling out leftists that were trying to ignore the allegations against Joe Biden. I'm the wrong one to bring that up.
So you're okay with him being president over Donald Trump?
I mean, he's president, so
look at Donald Trump and his
at the
past.
time, I did call out Joe Biden. I called out the person that was trying to say that we should push it under the rug. I brought out the allegations, and I defended Tara Reid. And still to this very day, I believe, even though we can't indict a president, Joe Biden should be held to account for that. There was this bullshit thing in the Senate where the Senate wouldn't let them bring out the records. Bullshit. Joe Biden wouldn't let them bring out.
Joe Biden wouldn't let them into the.
No, yeah. So I mean, I'm just the wrong person to bark up that tree. I'm very consistent on this. I tend to believe the accusers.
Keep up the Tara Reid narrative, because I want to see it come. I want to see Joe Biden be held accountable.
But I mean, you can't compare Joe Biden and the one allegation.
I'm not comparing
to the monstrosity that was Donald Trump.
I'm saying that Donald Trump is yesterday's news. Today's president is Joe Biden.
Well, he's still in the news.
Today's president is Joe Biden, who is who's guilty of sexual assault on Tara Reid. But Jeffrey Epstein, for example, he's a bad boy.
He's not guilty of it. He's accused.
So anyway, now we're talking about politics, and
I've heard Tara Reid's side, and I've heard Joe Biden's side, and he's fucking guilty.
Yeah, but you're on Silverman's side on his being accused.
Yes,
the contradictions there.
Objective.
So I'm going to go, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Check out my
Thanks
channel.
for coming on. I am going to end this very soon. It is somewhat getting late for me, and my pill
See
is
you later, Lisa.
Later, Lisa.
Bye.
Burp into my mic.
Yeah, your pill's kicking in, or your pain pill's going to be kicking in pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean it already has. I'm still thinking, like, the other day, yesterday, I had to go to work, so I was taking a lot in order to walk, and then I ended up not having to work, so I was just I was really fucked up yesterday. Today I'm fine. I'm still thinking straight. I did take my pain pill, so it's gonna kick in. I'm gonna get sleepy. But no, this has been a good conversation. And I'm not, I'm really trying to open myself up to right-wing politics that isn't hateful, but unfortunately, here in America, I mean, the two are kind of synonymous at this point. But that is different in other countries. Like I said, I have a friend, a sock account, who can spin me. I mean, he has true conservative politics, and they're great conversations, and it's a different thing than talking to an American conservative, because it's not about conservatism anymore. It's not about fiscal responsibility. It's become about owning the libtards. That's what it is. Donald Trump made it blatantly apparent.
Yeah.
Well, Knock, I just want to congratulate you on your 3K subscription.
Thank you.
All your subscribers.
Yeah, it took long enough, man. It took long enough.
Yeah, you kept going at it. That's the main point.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're back on track now. I think we're back on track.
I threw you another clip. Check out the DMs on Discord.
I appreciate that, dude. That's gonna help out a lot with the new channel.
Right. You have a Discord?
Yeah, I have a very small Discord. I haven't really opened it up to the public yet. The last time I did that, it became an atrocity of an atrocity. I mean, at one point, people were like, "This is the best Discord ever," and then at one point, it was like nobody could say anything, and Atheist jail, and it was terrible. It was fucking awful. I don't know if I want to open it up ever again.
Well, it got out of hand, and I think a lot of it had to do with what Ali was instituting. But
that whole crowd really just kind of got it just went out of control with some shit. Yeah.
Too bad.
So maybe one day, maybe I'll open it up one day. But like, if I ever do, I like it now because it's just people that I know that want to get in touch with me. It's like Jay, it's really, really small, and I'm hardly ever on it anyway. So it's like, I don't know if I'll ever open it up again. I had a really bad experience. It was fucking awful, man. Like, I would say something like, and I would be completely ignored. And it was an understanding that I wanted nothing to do with moderation, and so people took advantage of it. It was just bad.
Sorry to hear that.
I hate moderation.
Well, it's a good place.
Y'all seen that tonight. I suck at moderating.
Well, Discord's a good place. I could drop a file there and make sure you get it instead of sending it to email. And, sometimes the emails don't take heavy files. So,
It does have its benefits.
And I do like the cloud and share it from the cloud.
Share it from the cloud. I'm going to take off. I just want to say hello and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much, Free. Yeah, you've been around watching me forever. You're one of the first, I think. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, you have a good evening.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting off here. Good conversation. I didn't think that we would be covering child abuse, but we did, and I like those conversations, and I like being able to get the opposition. My intention every time I have a conversation about child abuse, and when I label spanking as child abuse, is not to damn anybody for the behavior. It's just to expose it and say we can do better. So I'm not trying to say anybody's wrong for spanking their kids. As long as you don't take it out of control, society says it's okay. I want society to say it's not. So that's when having those conversations, that's gonna be my stance. So. But I do need to go to bed, or at least troll some side chats for a while before I go to bed. So thank you everybody for joining tonight. I do want to do these open rooms again, and it was a slow start, but we did end up with a full room for most of it. Next time I'll definitely have my OBS set up so it's not just this block thing that's happening. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And thank you guys in the chat for being here tonight. Did I miss any? I think I did have a donation, one that matters. And this is, it's just awful, right? So the guy that did the knock is the worst N-word didn't leave a message, but then he did it again, and I didn't notice this one, and it's Knock's dead mother. And it says, wow. I'm so disappointed in you, son. What kind of a human being are you, dude? Seriously. But I do want to thank Money Where Mouth Is for your $5 tip. And it simply says coffee. I love coffee, but I have to give it up. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And as always, I will see you soon. In just a couple minutes of music, or not even a minute.